In the deep shadows of our past lie stories that were never meant to be forgotten. Cities swallowed by sand, languages no one can read, and monuments so precisely built they defy everything we think we know about ancient engineering. These are not the ruins found in textbooks. These are echoes, faint whispers from civilizations that thrived in silence, then vanished without warning. No farewell, no trace, only questions. Why did they disappear? What secrets did they carry? And how did entire worlds fade into dust, leaving behind only fragments too strange to explain? From the frozen steppes of Siberia to the sunken stones of the Persian Gulf, from jungle-covered temples no one speaks of, to towers of forgotten stone rising in distant islands, this is a journey through the most elusive corners of human history. Civilizations so old, so alien to us, they feel almost like myth, but they were real, and they left clues, buried, broken, hidden in plain sight. So sit back, let the world around you fall away, and together, let's follow the trail into the unknown, into 3 hours of mysterious, ancient, lost civilizations. Nestled along the shimmering coastlines of the Persian Gulf, where the restless waters meet the burning sands, lies a land shrouded in enigma, Dilmun. For centuries, this ancient civilization has whispered through the corridors of time, hinting at a paradise lost, a cultural crossroads whose true nature continues to elude historians and archaeologists alike. Picture the sun rising over a landscape where fertile oases once blossomed amidst vast desert expanses. The air, heavy with the scent of salt and frankincense, carried the chatter of merchants and priests, the steady rhythm of trade routes crisscrossing the Gulf's waters. This was Dilmun, more than a kingdom, more than a mere settlement. It was a hub of commerce and spirituality, a place woven deeply into the mythology and economies of ancient Mesopotamia. The earliest mentions of Dilmun appear in Sumerian texts dating back to the 3rd millennium BCE. Here, Dilmun was portrayed as a land of purity and abundance, a garden of the gods, an earthly paradise where sickness and death were absent. The Epic of Gilgamesh speaks of Dilmun as a place untouched by corruption, a realm where the sun rose daily, bathing the world in eternal light. Such poetic descriptions fuel a tantalizing question. Was Dilmun merely myth, or did it represent a real, tangible civilization flourishing somewhere along these ancient shores? Historical and archaeological investigations offer tantalizing clues. Modern Bahrain, with its network of burial mounds and ancient settlements, is often identified as the heart of Dilmun's domain. Excavations reveal a society with extensive trade links, reaching as far as the Indus Valley to the east and Mesopotamia to the west. Artifacts, pottery, seals, and jewelry attest to a sophisticated culture skilled in craftsmanship and maritime commerce. The archaeological record speaks of a prosperous civilization, vibrant and influential, yet the precise extent and nature of Dilmun remain frustratingly elusive. Despite these discoveries, many questions persist. The sudden rise and equally abrupt disappearance of Dilmun from historical records puzzle scholars. Some suggest environmental changes, shifting coastlines, rising seas, or prolonged drought may have undermined this oasis of prosperity. Others propose political upheavals, or the gradual absorption by emerging powers around the Gulf. Yet none of these theories fully explain the enduring mythic aura that clings to Dilmun, nor the gaps in our understanding of its people and their beliefs. Beyond the conventional narratives, whispers of more speculative ideas circulate. Some researchers propose Dilmun as a focal point of ancient spiritual knowledge, a center where earthly and divine realms intertwined. In this view, the Garden of the Gods was not simply a fertile land, but a sacred space imbued with cosmic significance. Could Dilmun have been a pilgrimage destination, a site where early religious practices blossomed and spread across the ancient Near East? Others point to enigmatic archaeological features, massive burial mounds, labyrinthine ruins submerged beneath coastal waters, and unusual iconography as hints of a civilization whose influence extended beyond trade and agriculture. What if Dilmun held secrets of lost technologies or esoteric wisdom? Was it a gateway in a network of ancient civilizations connected by invisible threads of culture, knowledge, and power? Yet, with every new theory, the evidence remains tantalizingly incomplete. The waters of the Gulf have concealed many of Dilmun's treasures, and shifting sands continue to guard its ruins. While satellite imagery and underwater archaeology have unveiled glimpses of submerged structures, much of Dilmun's past lies just out of reach, blurred by millennia and obscured by modern development. As we ponder the whispers of Dilmun, we are reminded of the delicate dance between history and myth, between the fragments unearthed and the stories yet to be told. Was Dilmun simply a flourishing Bronze Age trade center? Or does it hold a deeper, more profound place in humanity's quest for meaning and paradise? The mystery beckons us onward, inviting us to explore not only the ancient stones and texts, but also the spaces between them, where imagination and inquiry meet. What secrets still lie buried beneath the Gulf's restless waves and shifting sands? What stories remain hidden, waiting for the light of discovery to bring them forth? In the end, Dilmun challenges us to consider how civilizations rise and fall, how history is preserved or lost, and how the past shapes the myths that define us. It is a reminder that even in a world increasingly mapped and understood, there are still places where the unknown lingers, calling to those willing to listen. From the fertile shores of the Persian Gulf, our journey takes us further southwest, across vast deserts and rugged mountains, into the heart of the Arabian Peninsula, into the land once ruled by the ancient Sabaeans. Here, amid shifting sands and timeless winds, rise the ruins of temples and cities that whisper of a civilization both powerful and enigmatic, whose queens once commanded legions and shaped history, yet whose story remains veiled in shadows. The Sabaean kingdom flourished for nearly a millennium, from roughly 1200 BCE to the early centuries CE, anchoring itself in what is today Yemen. Unlike many ancient cultures defined by the exploits of kings and warriors, the Sabaeans are distinguished by the prominence of their queens, regal women who ruled with authority and whose names still echo faintly in inscriptions carved deep into the stones of desert temples. Imagine approaching the ruins of Marib, the ancient capital, where towering gateways and massive stone walls rise against the desert horizon. The city once bustled as the hub of a vast trade network that controlled the lucrative incense routes, through which frankincense and myrrh, highly prized aromatic resins, traveled across the ancient world. These commodities were not mere luxuries. They were essential to religious rites, medicine, and daily life, making Saba a wealthy and influential power. The temples themselves, constructed from large blocks of sandstone and adorned with intricate carvings, stand as silent sentinels to a complex spiritual world. Sacred altars and prayer chambers suggest a society deeply intertwined with its gods, whose worship often centered on celestial bodies, particularly the moon god Almaka, the principal deity of Sabaean religion. The moon, with its cyclical phases, symbolized renewal and power, themes reflected in the rituals practiced by priests and priestesses within these hallowed halls. Yet the temples are more than just places of worship. They are records carved in stone, offering glimpses into the lives, politics, and beliefs of a people who thrived on the edge of the known world. Hundreds of inscriptions have been uncovered, written in the ancient Sabaean script, revealing decrees, religious dedications, and genealogies of rulers. Among these texts, the names of powerful queens emerge, figures such as Queen Bilqis, the legendary Queen of Sheba, whose story is etched in myth and scripture across cultures. The historical reality of these queens, however, is a complex tapestry woven from fact and legend. Some inscriptions speak of their military campaigns, others of their diplomatic prowess, and many of their roles as religious leaders. Unlike the often male-dominated narratives of antiquity, the Sabaean queens appear as formidable sovereigns, presiding over their kingdom with authority and grace. But their reigns, and indeed their entire civilization, eventually faded. The reasons for Saba's decline are as enigmatic as its rise. Archaeological evidence points to environmental shifts, including severe droughts and the collapse of vital irrigation systems, which undermined agricultural production and destabilized society. Yet, these natural causes alone cannot fully explain the disappearance of a culture that had once been a beacon of wealth and spirituality. Speculation arises from the very stones themselves. Were there internal conflicts, power struggles hidden behind the smooth stone facades? Did external invaders play a role in hastening the kingdom's demise? The region's strategic location made it a crossroads for competing empires, and the Sabaeans' control over trade would have made them both influential and vulnerable. Adding another layer of mystery are the unexplained architectural features found at some temple sites. Enormous stone blocks, aligned with precision far beyond what one might expect for the time, raise questions about the knowledge and techniques of the Sabaean builders. Some have noted alignments with astronomical events, suggesting an advanced understanding of celestial mechanics, which further ties the civilization to cosmic symbolism. This link between the heavens and the earth is a recurring theme in ancient cultures, but in Saba, it feels particularly pronounced. The prominence of moon worship, the celestial alignment of temples, and the reverence for cycles of nature point to a worldview where spirituality and science were intertwined, where the stars were not distant objects, but active players in the fate of kings and kingdoms. Yet, much remains unknown. The inscriptions are only partially deciphered, and many temple complexes remain only partially excavated. The dry desert climate has preserved some artifacts, but shifting sands continue to bury secrets beneath their ever-moving dunes. Even modern political instability in the region has hindered extensive archaeological exploration, leaving vast swaths of history locked away. And then there is the enduring allure of the Queen of Sheba herself, a figure who straddles history and myth, referenced in the Bible, the Quran, and Ethiopian lore. Was she a real queen who ruled from Marib, a diplomatic envoy visiting Solomon's court, or a symbolic figure embodying the power and mystery of Saba? Scholars debate, but her story continues to captivate imaginations, inviting us to wonder about the women who once wielded power in these arid lands. As we stand amid the ruins, the silence is palpable. It is the silence of lost voices, of histories half told and mysteries unsolved. What truths lay buried beneath the sands? What stories of strength, devotion, and ambition remain hidden within the crumbling walls of the temples? The vanished queens of Saba remind us that history is not only shaped by what survives, but also by what is lost, and that some secrets may forever elude us, preserved only in the whispers of the wind across the desert. As we continue this journey through time and across forgotten lands, we carry with us the questions that the Sabaean temples raise. Questions that demand not immediate answers, but patient exploration, a willingness to listen to the stones, to read between the lines, and to embrace the unknown. As the fading shadows of Saba's vanished queens recede behind us, our journey takes us deeper into the heart of ancient Arabia, to a land where the desert wind carries the secrets of civilizations long swallowed by time. Here, nestled among rugged mountains and parched valleys, stand the enigmatic ruins of Qataban, a kingdom whose silent stones tell a story both captivating and elusive. Among its many mysteries, the moon temples of Qataban rise as silent sentinels, their purpose and power still shrouded in twilight. Qataban flourished from roughly the 8th century BCE to the 2nd century CE, a pivotal player in the ancient incense trade that coursed through the Arabian Peninsula. Its capital, Timna, once thrived as a bustling hub where merchants and pilgrims converged beneath the vast expanse of a star-studded sky. It was here, amid the harsh beauty of arid lands, that the moon, not the sun, held a sacred place in the hearts and minds of Qataban's people. The moon temples, though now silent and weathered by centuries, once pulsed with spiritual life. Constructed from massive blocks of sandstone, some still standing proudly against the harsh desert backdrop, these structures are more than mere remnants of stone. They are portals into a worldview that saw the lunar cycles as the heartbeat of existence itself. The crescent moon, in particular, was revered as a symbol of renewal, fertility, and divine guardianship. Approaching the ruins, one cannot help but feel the profound stillness that pervades the place. The moon temples of Qataban are often modest in scale compared to the grandiose pyramids or ziggurats of other ancient cultures, yet their architectural sophistication is unmistakable. Careful alignment of walls and altars suggests an intimate knowledge of the lunar calendar, a calendar that governed agriculture, religious festivals, and perhaps even political power. But beyond the stone and shadow, what did the moon truly mean to the Qatabans? To the outside observer, it is tempting to interpret these temples as simply places of worship, but the reality is likely far more complex. Inscriptions discovered in and around Timna hint at a pantheon where the moon god, known as Al-Maka, or by variations of the name, was central. This deity was believed not only to govern the skies, but also to oversee justice, protection, and prosperity. Archaeological finds, including carved altars, ceremonial vessels, and intricate bronze objects, attest to a ritual life that intertwined with the celestial rhythms. Some scholars suggest that priests or priestesses acted as intermediaries between the moon god and the people, using sacred knowledge to maintain harmony and order. Could these lunar rites have involved precise astronomical observations? Did the Qatabans track eclipses or the moon's waxing and waning as markers of divine will? Yet, as with many ancient mysteries, definitive answers remain elusive. The inscriptions themselves, though numerous, often speak in symbolic language, fragments of prayers, cryptic dedications, and mythic references that resist simple translation. The moon temples stand as reminders of a culture whose spiritual heartbeat was deeply encoded in the cycles of nature, but whose precise meanings have drifted into the realm of speculation. Beyond established archaeology, more speculative theories emerge. Some researchers propose that the lunar worship at Qataban reflects a wider ancient network of moon cults spanning the Near East and beyond. Could Qataban have been a focal point in this constellation, influencing or influenced by other ancient lunar traditions? Such ideas suggest cultural exchange and shared cosmologies far older and more intricate than previously imagined. Others point to the architectural alignments as evidence of advanced astronomical knowledge, possibly used for calendrical precision or even ritualistic prophecy. Might the moon temples have functioned as ancient observatories, places where the heavens were mapped not only for spiritual reasons, but also for practical governance? The possibility invites us to reconsider the technological sophistication of these lost civilizations. Further intrigue arises from the relatively sudden decline of Qataban around the 2nd century CE. Despite its prominent role in trade and religion, the kingdom's power waned, and the moon temples eventually fell silent. What caused this decline? Environmental changes, shifting trade routes, or political upheaval may have played roles, but the precise factors remain debated. Like the phases of the moon itself, Qataban's rise and fall seem cyclical, a waxing glory followed by an inevitable wane. In this desert silence, the moon temples evoke a poignant question. What truths remain buried beneath the sand and stone? Are we glimpsing a civilization whose cosmic understanding was ahead of its time, or are we interpreting shadows cast by incomplete fragments? The unanswered questions invite us to listen closely, not just to what the stones say, but to the silence that surrounds them. As the night sky deepens, one wonders if the ancients who gazed upon the same moon saw in its gentle glow the reflection of their own fate, a cycle of light and darkness, creation and loss, memory and oblivion. The moon temples of Qataban stand as a quiet testament to that mystery, urging us onward in our quest to understand the civilizations that came before. And so, with the desert winds whispering through the broken walls, we move forward, guided by the pale light of the moon, tracing the faint outlines of history and stepping further into the shadows of the unknown. As the pale moonlight fades behind the rugged mountains of ancient Arabia, our journey shifts once more, this time to a quieter, more enigmatic echo of the past. The deserts here conceal not only the remnants of great kingdoms, but also whispers etched in stone, cryptic inscriptions left by a people whose voice almost slipped into silence. These are the last echoes of the Thamudic stone scripts, a cryptic legacy carved into rocky outcrops and hidden in remote valleys, waiting patiently for us to listen. The Thamudic script, named after the ancient Thamud tribe mentioned in several historic texts, represents one of the earliest forms of written communication in the Arabian Peninsula. Unlike the grand stone monuments or towering temples we have encountered, the Thamudic inscriptions are modest, scattered letters and symbols scratched onto weathered stone surfaces, often found in some of the most isolated, inhospitable corners of the desert. These inscriptions may seem simple at first glance, yet they carry a weight of mystery far beyond their modest appearance. Imagine standing before a vast sandstone cliff, its face marred by the erosion of countless centuries, where faint marks and angular carvings come into view. The letters and symbols are arranged in lines, sometimes accompanied by crude depictions of animals or human figures. To the untrained eye, they may appear as random scratches, but to scholars, they are fragments of language and culture, silent testimony to lives once lived and stories long forgotten. The exact origin and meaning of the Thamudic scripts remain subjects of scholarly debate. The term Thamudic itself is a modern designation grouping together a variety of scripts found across northern Arabia, all thought to be related to the peoples who roamed these lands during the first millennium BCE. Yet, despite numerous attempts, a full decipherment has eluded researchers. The inscriptions are often brief, lacking context, and appear in multiple regional variants, complicating efforts to decode their precise meanings. What were these carvings meant to convey? Were they simple records of ownership, messages left for passing travelers, or perhaps sacred texts? Some inscriptions include references to deities, personal names, or tribal affiliations, suggesting they served both practical and spiritual purposes. Others are more enigmatic, symbols that resist clear interpretation, hinting at lost dialects or coded languages. Beyond the surface, the Thamudic scripts open a window into a world where oral tradition and written communication intertwined. The desert tribes who carved these symbols were largely nomadic, their lives shaped by the harsh environment and shifting alliances. Writing, in this context, may have served as a tool of identity, a way to assert presence in a landscape otherwise dominated by impermanence. The mystery deepens when considering the broader historical and cultural implications. The ancient city of Petra, located just beyond the edges of where many Thamudic inscriptions are found, flourished centuries later as a center of trade and power. Could these stone scripts represent an earlier layer of civilization that influenced or interacted with the Nabateans and other prominent cultures of the region? The sparse archaeological record leaves much to speculation. Intriguingly, some of the carvings exhibit stylistic parallels with scripts found in the Sinai Peninsula and southern Levant, suggesting a web of cultural exchange across the desert's vast expanse. Were these symbols part of a wider communication network among tribal groups? Could the script have evolved into or from other known alphabets, hinting at a forgotten chapter in the history of writing? As scholars probe these questions, alternative and more speculative theories have also emerged. Some propose that the Thamudic inscriptions encode esoteric knowledge, possibly linked to ancient astronomical observations or religious rituals. Could these markings be a form of sacred cipher, understood only by initiates of desert cults? While such ideas remain unproven, they invite us to ponder the complexity hidden beneath the seemingly simple carvings. Others wonder whether these inscriptions might hold clues to the fate of the Thamud people themselves, a tribe said in Arabian lore to have been destroyed for their impiety, their cities swallowed by the desert sands. Is there truth in these legends? Or are they symbolic myths crafted to explain the disappearance of a once thriving culture? If the latter, might the inscriptions offer fragmented testimonies to their struggles, triumphs, and ultimate downfall? Further complicating matters, many Thamudic sites remain difficult to access and underexplored due to modern political boundaries and harsh terrain. This means that much of the potential evidence lies buried, waiting for future generations of archaeologists to uncover and interpret. Technological advances, such as digital imaging and remote sensing, now offer new hope in revealing faint or hidden inscriptions. High-resolution scans can bring to light details invisible to the naked eye, while machine learning algorithms help identify patterns and classify script variants. Yet even with these tools, the fundamental enigma persists, a voice from the past that resists full understanding. As we stand amidst these ancient stones, the silence is profound. The desert wind seems to carry faint whispers, echoes of conversations lost to time, fragments of prayers or warnings, or perhaps simply the names of travelers who once passed this way. Each symbol, carved with deliberate care, invites us to consider the humanity behind the markings, the hopes, fears, and identities of those who left their mark. The last echoes of the Thamudic stone scripts remind us of the fragility of memory, especially in landscapes shaped by relentless change. They challenge us to rethink what we consider lost, suggesting that even in absence there can be presence, traces that linger, waiting patiently for recognition. And so, as we leave these weathered cliffs behind, the questions remain. What more might lie concealed beneath the sands and stones? What truths about the people who inscribed these symbols might still be uncovered? The mystery endures, urging us onward, reminding us that history is often a puzzle assembled not just from what we know, but from what remains to be discovered. From the quiet, weathered inscriptions etched into the desert stones of ancient Arabia, our journey now carries us northward, beyond the arid sands and into the rugged highlands that cradle a vanished kingdom. A land where mountains loom like silent sentinels over forgotten cities, and a history that almost slipped through the cracks of time itself. This is Urartu, an enigmatic civilization whose echoes resound faintly from the shores of Lake Van in what is now eastern Turkey, straddling the crossroads of the ancient Near East. The kingdom of Urartu rose to prominence around the 9th century BCE, flourishing as a formidable rival to the great empires of Assyria and Babylon. Yet, unlike those sprawling realms, Urartu's power was anchored not just in vast armies or trade networks, but in a land both forbidding and beautiful, a high plateau encircled by towering mountains, rich with rivers and fertile soil. It was here that Urartians carved out a distinct identity, one that blended remarkable architectural feats with a complex religious life, leaving behind fortified citadels, intricate irrigation systems, and enigmatic inscriptions in their own language. Approaching the ruins scattered across this landscape, one cannot help but be struck by the silent strength of Urartu's legacy. Massive stone walls and cyclopean fortresses still stand, testaments to a civilization skilled in both warfare and engineering. The capital, Tushpa, perched on a volcanic hill overlooking Lake Van, was once a vibrant center of political power and religious worship. Temples dedicated to the storm god Haldi, adorned with carved reliefs of fierce deities and mythic beasts, reveal a culture deeply invested in spirituality and cosmic order. Yet, for all its grandeur, Urartu remains shrouded in mystery. Much of what we know about this kingdom comes from the annals of its neighbors, Assyrian inscriptions recording battles, tribute, and diplomacy. The Urartian language itself, inscribed in cuneiform on stone tablets, is only partially deciphered, leaving vast gaps in understanding their culture, governance, and daily life. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, Urartu left no extensive royal tombs or vast libraries. Instead, its story must be pieced together like a fragile mosaic from fragments scattered across rugged terrain. What caused the kingdom's sudden decline by the 6th century BCE remains a puzzle. Some scholars suggest environmental shifts, droughts, soil degradation, or seismic upheavals might have undermined the agricultural base that supported its cities. Others point to the growing pressure from nomadic tribes and expanding empires, which gradually eroded Urartu's power. Yet, no single explanation fully accounts for the abruptness of its disappearance. Could there have been internal strife, political upheaval, or religious transformations that hastened its fall? Adding to the intrigue are the unexplained symbols and motifs found on Urartian artifacts. Elaborate bronze weapons and ceremonial objects bear images of winged creatures and hybrid beasts, a fusion of lion, eagle, and serpent, whose symbolic meaning remains open to interpretation. Were these protective talismans, religious icons, or markers of royal authority? Such imagery invites speculation about the kingdom's spiritual worldview and its possible connections to wider Near Eastern mythologies. Beyond the archaeological record, local legends and folklore whisper of Urartu's hidden treasures and lost knowledge. Tales circulate of subterranean chambers beneath ancient fortresses, sealed away from the eyes of the living, rumored to hold relics of immense power or forbidden wisdom. While these stories remain in the realm of myth, they underscore the enduring fascination and mystery that surrounds the vanished kingdom. Some researchers have proposed more speculative theories about Urartu's place in history. Could the kingdom have been a cultural bridge between East and West, a crucible where diverse peoples and traditions met and mingled? Might its mysterious symbols and architectural styles have influenced later civilizations in unexpected ways? Others ponder whether Urartu's decline was linked to wider regional disruptions, a domino effect triggered by shifting alliances, trade disruptions, or even climatic catastrophes on a grand scale. Intriguingly, certain architectural features at Urartian sites hint at sophisticated knowledge of astronomy and geography. Alignments of temples and fortresses suggest an awareness of celestial cycles, possibly used to regulate agricultural calendars or religious ceremonies. This raises further questions about the intellectual achievements of Urartu's people. What scientific insights might they have possessed, lost to time and oblivion? Despite decades of archaeological exploration, Urartu remains elusive, a shadowy presence in the tapestry of ancient history. Excavations reveal tantalizing glimpses of its world, yet so much is still buried beneath layers of earth and silence. The kingdom's disappearance challenges historians and archaeologists alike to look beyond traditional narratives and consider the complexities of cultural memory and loss. As we stand amid the ruins, stones worn by centuries of wind and rain, the question lingers. What truths about Urartu have yet to be uncovered? What stories lie hidden in the earth, waiting for patient hands to unearth them? And as new technologies open fresh avenues of discovery, might the veiled past of this mountain kingdom finally step into clearer light? For now, Urartu remains a testament to the fragile nature of human achievement, a civilization that rose with strength and spirit, only to vanish beneath the tides of history, leaving behind puzzles that continue to captivate our imagination. As we turn the pages of this ancient mystery, the kingdom's silent stones invite us to ponder the impermanence of empires and the enduring allure of the unknown. Beneath the shifting skies of ancient Anatolia, where rugged mountains stretch toward the horizon and valleys cradle winding rivers, a civilization once thrived whose echoes remain faint yet compelling, the Luwians. Known largely through fragments of inscriptions and scattered archaeological remains, the Luwians occupied a pivotal place in the complex tapestry of the late Bronze Age Near East. But it is not merely their political or military history that captivates. There is something far more enigmatic, etched into stone and whispered in the night sky. Here, amid crumbling ruins and faded murals, we find traces of a people who sought to understand the cosmos, who drew the stars in ways that continue to mystify scholars and stargazers alike. The Luwians were neighbors and sometimes rivals to the mighty Hittites, their language and culture intertwined with those of the broader Anatolian world. Yet, unlike the grand palaces and cuneiform tablets of Hattusa, the Luwian legacy often appears more elusive. Inscriptions carved in a distinct hieroglyphic script, scattered artifacts, and tantalizing glimpses of celestial symbolism. It is in these hieroglyphs and iconography that we begin to glimpse a worldview where the heavens were not distant or indifferent, but intimately connected to life on earth. Imagine standing in the shadow of an ancient temple or royal tomb, where faded reliefs depict mysterious figures with arms outstretched toward the night sky. The walls are adorned with symbols that resemble stars, constellations, and strange geometric patterns, some clearly deliberate, others frustratingly ambiguous. Scholars have painstakingly catalogued these signs, identifying some as representations of known celestial bodies like the Sun, Moon, and Venus, but others defy straightforward explanation. What did these images mean to the Luwians? Were they part of a sophisticated system of astronomy used to mark seasons, govern agriculture, or guide religious festivals? Or did they embody myths and stories encoded in stone, celestial narratives passed down through generations? These questions linger because much about the Luwians remains shrouded in mystery, complicated by gaps in the archaeological record and the partial decipherment of their script. The Luwian hieroglyphic script itself is a subject of fascination. Unlike the cuneiform of Mesopotamia or the Egyptian hieroglyphs, Luwian hieroglyphs combine logographic and phonetic elements, offering clues not only to language, but potentially to cosmology and ritual practice. Some inscriptions appear in sacred contexts, temples, shrines, or royal monuments, suggesting a deliberate fusion of text and symbolism aimed at invoking divine power or cosmic order. One of the most intriguing sites associated with the Luwians is the ancient city of Carchemish, strategically perched along the Euphrates River. Here, monumental gates and statues bear carvings that include celestial motifs, possibly reflecting the Luwian elite's preoccupation with the heavens. The famous Fountain of Carchemish, adorned with reliefs of deities and symbolic creatures, hints at a mythology where the natural and supernatural worlds intertwined. But the precise cosmological meaning remains elusive. Over the decades, researchers have explored various interpretations. Some propose that the Luwians had an advanced understanding of astronomy, tracking celestial movements with surprising accuracy. The arrangement of certain monuments and carvings may correspond to stellar alignments or solstitial events, echoing similar practices found in cultures around the world. Others speculate that the celestial imagery formed part of ritualized storytelling, a way to encode cultural memory and spiritual beliefs in a visual language accessible to both priests and populace. Yet, as with many ancient scripts and symbols, definitive proof remains out of reach. The fragmentary nature of the evidence forces scholars to balance cautious interpretation with imaginative inquiry. For every inscription partially understood, there is another clouded in ambiguity or lost to time. The possibility that some signs represented now extinct constellations or star systems adds another layer of complexity. Beyond scholarly debates, some have suggested more speculative ideas. Could the Luwians' celestial carvings hint at knowledge brought by external influences, perhaps from distant cultures connected through trade routes stretching across the ancient Near East and Mediterranean? Might these star drawings encode esoteric knowledge, ritual secrets, or even astronomical data lost with the fall of their civilization? While such theories are difficult to verify, they remind us how much remains to be uncovered beneath the layers of history. Equally intriguing are the correlations between Luwian celestial motifs and myths found in neighboring cultures. Ancient Anatolia was a crossroads where Hittite, Hurrian, Luwian, and later Phrygian and Greek beliefs intertwined. Shared themes, such as a storm god battling a cosmic serpent or the journey of a solar deity through the underworld, appear in art and literature, hinting at a collective attempt to understand the universe's order and chaos. Could the Luwians have contributed unique chapters to these mythologies, reflected subtly in their star drawings? And what does this suggest about the transmission of knowledge across cultures, particularly in an era before written records were widespread? The interplay of oral tradition, ritual practice, and symbolic representation complicates the picture but also enriches it. One cannot ignore the role of the landscape itself. The rugged hills and fertile plains of Anatolia offered a natural observatory. Clear skies, dramatic horizons, and seasonal cycles that shaped human life. The stars were not just distant points of light, but markers of time and destiny, guiding planting, harvesting, migration, and worship. How the Luwians integrated these celestial rhythms into their cultural and spiritual fabric remains a question of profound significance. Today, modern technology aids in peeling back the layers of mystery. Digital imaging reveals details on weathered carvings invisible to the naked eye. Archaeological surveys map the alignment of sites relative to celestial bodies, and linguistic analysis continues to decode the hieroglyphic script. Yet, even with these advances, the Luwian sky remains partly veiled, a silent canvas painted in symbols whose full meaning continues to elude us. As we trace the faint lines where the Luwians drew the stars, we confront the broader enigma of how ancient peoples made sense of their place in the cosmos. These star drawings are more than artistic expressions. They are a testament to human curiosity, reverence, and the yearning to connect Earth with heaven. What secrets did the night sky hold for the Luwians? How did their celestial vision shape their lives, their kingship, their faith? And what truths about the stars and the universe have been lost, buried beneath millennia of silence? The story of where the Luwians drew the stars remains unfinished, a cosmic riddle inviting us to look upward and ponder the mysteries hidden in the skies above and the stones below. As the ancient echoes of the Anatolian highlands fade behind us, our journey now leads to the mist-shrouded shores of the Caspian Sea, a place where the land meets a vast, restless body of water, and where history itself seems to linger in the shadows. Here, beneath rolling hills cloaked in dense forests and along forgotten riverbeds, lie the ghost cities of Hyrcania. These ruins, half swallowed by time and nature's relentless reclamation, offer a haunting glimpse into a civilization once vibrant, now veiled in mystery. Hyrcania, known to the ancients as the land beyond the mountains, stretched along the southeastern coast of the Caspian Sea, encompassing territories that today fall within northern Iran and southern Turkmenistan. From the classical texts of Herodotus to the meticulous annals of Persian chroniclers, Hyrcania was described as a land rich in natural resources, forests dense with towering trees, fertile plains yielding abundant harvests, and mineral springs bubbling with life-giving waters. Yet, despite its acknowledged importance as a borderland between empires and nomadic tribes, much about its cities and peoples remains elusive. The ruins scattered across the Hyrcanian landscape are testament to a civilization that flourished between the first millennium BCE and the early centuries CE, occupying a crossroads of cultures and empires: Median, Achaemenid, Parthian, and later Sasanian. Stone walls crumbled beneath the weight of centuries. Towers toppled and buried beneath layers of earth. Yet their very decay invites questions. What stories do these silent stones hold? What lives once animated these now deserted streets? Archaeological expeditions have uncovered fragments of fortified citadels, temples, and urban layouts that suggest Hyrcanian cities were hubs of political power and cultural exchange. Artifacts, ceramics, coins, inscriptions bear witness to a society connected to broader Persian and Central Asian worlds, yet with its own distinct identity. Local craftsmanship, religious iconography, and burial practices hint at customs blending indigenous traditions with the influences of successive conquerors. Despite these glimpses, the ghost cities of Hyrcania defy complete understanding. Some sites remain only partially excavated, others known primarily from satellite imagery or remote sensing technologies that reveal patterns invisible from the ground. The dense forests and shifting rivers have long obscured the full extent of Hyrcania's urban footprint, making it difficult for historians to reconstruct a continuous narrative. Adding to the enigma are reports from travelers and local folklore, describing ruins so vast and labyrinthine that they seem almost otherworldly. Whispered tales speak of entire cities lost beneath dense vegetation or submerged under Caspian waters due to ancient earthquakes and rising sea levels. Could some of these ghost cities be remnants of a forgotten era, swallowed by natural cataclysms? One particularly intriguing site near the modern city of Gorgan has yielded walls of baked brick and stone stretching for kilometers, remnants of what was once a mighty fortress complex. The so-called Red Fortress, named for the reddish hue of its bricks, is believed to have served as a strategic military outpost guarding against northern invasions. Its imposing ramparts and gates testify to a society deeply concerned with defense and control, hinting at a region frequently contested and volatile. Yet the fortress's exact origins and fate remain subjects of debate. Some scholars argue it was primarily a Parthian stronghold, while others suggest it may have earlier Median or even Scythian roots. Was this site merely a military bastion, or did it serve as a ceremonial center as well? The discovery of nearby sanctuaries, altars, and carved reliefs of mythic creatures suggests a spiritual dimension intertwined with its martial purpose. Beyond the tangible, more elusive mysteries deepen the allure of Hyrcania's ghost cities. Inscriptions in ancient scripts, Old Persian, Aramaic, and an undeciphered local tongue offer tantalizing fragments of history but also raise new questions. What languages were spoken by the common people? How did the cultural mosaic of this region evolve through waves of migration, conquest, and assimilation? Did Hyrcania harbor religious beliefs or secret rites unknown elsewhere? Some of the most puzzling discoveries come from the unexplored subterranean layers beneath these ruins. Cavernous chambers, tunnels, and cisterns have been detected through ground-penetrating radar, but have yet to be fully investigated. local legends speak of hidden cities beneath the earth, labyrinthine networks built for refuge or ritual, sealed off to protect treasures or knowledge from invaders. Are these mere stories, or do they point to real archaeological treasures waiting to be uncovered? Further complicating the mystery is the region's seismic volatility. The Caspian area has a long history of earthquakes and geological upheavals that may have caused dramatic changes in the landscape, collapsing cities, altering river courses, and submerging settlements underwater. Could some ghost cities be lost to these natural disasters, their remains lying beneath sediment or beneath the Caspian Sea itself? Intriguingly, satellite surveys have identified underwater anomalies off the Caspian coast, rectilinear shapes and patterns that suggest man-made structures beneath the waves. Some researchers speculate these may be remains of ancient harbors, docks, or even entire towns engulfed by rising waters. If confirmed, such discoveries would rewrite our understanding of Hyrcania's extent and its relationship with the sea. Beyond geology and archaeology, the cultural and historical significance of Hyrcania invites reflection on the nature of memory and loss. This was a region where empires met, clashed, and merged, a liminal space bridging steppe nomads and sedentary civilizations, Persian dynasties and Hellenistic successors. What stories have been lost amidst the ruins? What histories lie buried beneath centuries of silence? Speculative theories add further layers to the puzzle. Some fringe researchers have suggested that Hyrcania was home to a mysterious, advanced civilization whose knowledge and power rivaled those of better-known empires but was deliberately erased or forgotten. Others point to connections between Hyrcanian iconography and motifs found in distant cultures, hinting at ancient trade routes or shared spiritual traditions reaching far beyond the Caspian. Could Hyrcania have been a center for esoteric knowledge, a guardian of secrets passed down through hidden cults or priestly orders? Were its ghost cities not just political centers but repositories of wisdom lost in the tides of history? While these ideas remain speculative, they highlight the enduring fascination with what remains unknown. The ghost cities also raise questions about human resilience and impermanence. These ruins stand as silent witnesses to civilizations that once dreamed, built, fought, and worshipped here, only to fade into obscurity. Their decay challenges us to consider how history is shaped by both human endeavor and the forces of nature, and how much of the past remains just out of reach. As modern explorers, archaeologists, and historians continue to piece together Hyrcania's story, they are reminded that every discovery often deepens the mystery rather than solves it. What new technologies and methods might one day unlock the secrets buried beneath Caspian shadows? Could future expeditions uncover entire cities preserved beneath layers of sediment, offering unprecedented insight into this lost world? For now, the ghost cities of Hyrcania remain a puzzle woven from stone and silence, inviting us to peer into the shadows and wonder what truths they still conceal beneath their crumbling walls and tangled forests. Beyond the rolling deserts and fertile river valleys of Central Asia lie the enigmatic landscapes of Bactria and Margiana, two ancient regions that once thrived as crossroads of culture, commerce, and power. Today, their vast expanses of sand and steppe bear little trace of the bustling cities and thriving societies that once shaped the course of history here. Yet beneath these seemingly barren lands, archaeological discoveries whisper of phantom cities, grand urban centers whose true nature and fate remain cloaked in mystery. Bactria, nestled between the Amu Darya and the Hindu Kush Mountains, and Margiana, sprawling around the Murghab River basin, were vital hubs along the ancient Silk Road. This was a land of caravans and merchants, of art and ideas flowing between East and West. The Greek historian Strabo described Bactria as the ornament of Asia, a prosperous region renowned for its fertility and wealth. Margiana, too, was famous for its well-irrigated fields and sophisticated irrigation systems, which supported vibrant communities amid an otherwise arid expanse. Archaeologists have uncovered impressive ruins in these regions, including massive fortified settlements, intricate irrigation canals, and artifacts of exquisite craftsmanship. Sites like Ai-Khanum, on the edge of the Hindu Kush, reveal the astonishing blend of Hellenistic, Persian, and Central Asian influences. Margiana's ancient city of Gunur Tepe, part of the greater Bactria Margiana archaeological complex, BMAC, is no less fascinating. A sprawling urban center complete with temples, palaces, and workshops flourishing around 2300 to 1700 BCE. Yet, despite these remarkable findings, much about the so-called phantom cities remains frustratingly elusive. Many of these urban sites appear suddenly in the archaeological record, fully formed and richly adorned, only to vanish abruptly under layers of dust and silence. Unlike the slow, gradual evolution seen in some ancient cities, Bactria and Margiana's centers seem almost to emerge fully fledged and then disappear, their stories interrupted without clear explanation. What caused the rise and fall of these vibrant societies? Were they victims of shifting climates, invasions, or economic collapse? Or did more obscure forces play a role, concealing truths that still lie buried beneath the sands? The irrigation networks discovered in Margiana are among the oldest known in the world, hinting at an advanced knowledge of hydraulics and engineering. These canals supported agriculture in a harsh environment, sustaining populations in cities that rivaled those of Mesopotamia and Egypt. Yet, over time, many of these systems fell into disrepair. Some researchers suggest that gradual salinization of the soil or catastrophic flooding may have rendered the land unproductive, forcing inhabitants to abandon their homes. But these explanations only deepen the mystery. Why did some cities seem to survive these challenges longer than others? Why do some settlements show evidence of violent destruction, while others appear to have been quietly deserted? The answers are tangled in a complex web of environmental, political, and cultural factors that resist simple narratives. Adding to the intrigue are artifacts and architectural features that defy easy classification. The art of Bactria and Margiana combines styles and motifs from distant regions. Greek gods carved alongside enigmatic animal figures, Indus script-like symbols mingling with Elamite designs. Such syncretism suggests a melting pot of ideas, but it also raises questions about the origins and meanings of these symbols. One of the most puzzling discoveries comes from the burial practices unearthed in these regions. Luxurious tombs filled with gold, precious stones, and intricate ceramics point to a highly stratified society with complex spiritual beliefs. Yet, many graves also contain peculiar items, strange masks, unidentified objects, and unusual skeletal arrangements, hinting at ritualistic or possibly esoteric practices lost to time. Could these burial customs reflect a secret knowledge or a belief system different from those documented in other ancient civilizations? Were these phantom cities home to cults or priesthoods whose rites vanished along with the cities themselves? Speculative theories have long swirled around Bactria and Margiana. Some fringe researchers suggest these were centers of an ancient, lost civilization, possessing technologies and wisdom surpassing even those of their contemporaries. Others propose connections to mythical realms described in later texts, perhaps remnants of the fabled Land of the Golden Fleece or the elusive Arianum Vasia mentioned in Zoroastrian tradition. While such claims remain unproven and often controversial, they highlight the difficulty of fully understanding these ancient societies through fragmentary evidence. The phantom cities resist easy categorization, existing at the intersection of archaeology, myth, and imagination. Modern technology offers tantalizing new possibilities for exploration. Satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar have revealed patterns suggesting that many more settlements remain hidden beneath the desert sands or beneath modern agricultural fields. Some urban layouts appear to be carefully planned, with grid-like streets and fortified walls, indicating centralized governance and strategic defense. At the same time, the extreme climate and political instability of the region have limited extensive excavation. Many sites remain only partially studied, with much of their secrets locked away, awaiting future generations of researchers. Moreover, the cultural legacy of Bactria and Margiana lives on in unexpected ways. Their art and ideas ripple through Central Asian history, influencing later empires and peoples. The mingling of Greek, Persian, Indian, and nomadic traditions in these regions seeded cultural currents that flowed along the Silk Road, shaping the world in subtle but profound ways. As we peer into the ruins of these phantom cities, questions multiply rather than fade. What caused their sudden disappearance? Did they leave behind hidden records or monuments yet to be discovered? Could lost libraries or archives be buried beneath the earth, waiting to reveal forgotten chapters of human history? The mystery deepens when considering the harsh realities of survival in this ancient frontier. How did these societies manage to sustain themselves against the odds, through droughts, invasions, and shifting trade routes? What resilience or innovation might be hidden in the remnants of their buildings and artifacts? Each fragment uncovered tells part of a story, but also invites us to wonder what remains undiscovered. The phantom cities of Bactria and Margiana are more than archaeological sites. They are portals to a world where history blurs into legend, and where human ingenuity met the unforgiving forces of nature and time. Their legacy challenges us to embrace uncertainty, to listen to the silent voices beneath the soil, and to accept that some mysteries may remain unresolved, beckoning us always toward deeper exploration. So as the desert winds sweep across the forgotten plains, we find ourselves drawn into the enigma of Bactria and Margiana, phantom cities lost to time, yet echoing with the pulse of ancient life, waiting patiently beneath the surface for their stories to be told. From the shifting sands of Central Asia, our journey now turns toward the fertile plains of southwestern Iran, a cradle of one of the most enigmatic and enduring ancient cultures, Elam. For millennia, Elam stood as a formidable kingdom, a neighbor to Mesopotamia's great empires, yet its story has remained shrouded in shadows, half whispered through cuneiform tablets, half lost beneath the weight of history. Among the many enigmas Elam left behind, one stands out with haunting clarity: the hollow mask of the Elamite kings. This mask, unearthed from royal tombs deep beneath layers of earth and time, captivates archaeologists and historians alike. Its hollow gaze both a testament to ancient artistry and a riddle wrapped in silence. The mask itself is a masterpiece of craftsmanship, fashioned from precious metals, often gold or silver, with delicate filigree outlining the facial features. At first glance, it appears to be a regal portrait, a likeness intended to honor and immortalize the visage of Elam's rulers. Yet closer inspection reveals something far more unsettling. The mask is hollow, empty inside, as if it were a shell, a facade concealing something unseen. This emptiness has led to myriad questions. Why would a culture invest such care in creating a visage that is paradoxically hollow? Was it merely a funerary practice designed to shield and honor the dead? Or does the hollow mask signify something deeper, an emblem of a spiritual or metaphysical belief about identity, death, and the afterlife? Elamite kings, whose names occasionally surface in ancient inscriptions alongside powerful Mesopotamian rulers, wielded influence over a region bridging the Persian Gulf and the Zagros Mountains. Their culture flourished from at least 2700 BCE to the early first millennium BCE, a civilization often overshadowed by its more famous neighbors, yet remarkable for its art, language, and enigmatic iconography. The masks themselves were found primarily in the royal necropolises of Susa, one of Elam's ancient capitals. These burial sites revealed tombs laden with treasures, ceremonial weapons, pottery, jewelry, and these delicate masks resting over the faces of the deceased rulers. The intent seemed clear: to preserve their identity, to present them eternally as kings in the realm beyond. But the hollow nature of the masks complicates this understanding. Unlike painted portraits or sculpted statues, these masks provide no interior. Could this be symbolic? Some scholars propose that the emptiness represents the soul's departure, the shedding of the physical self to enter the afterlife. The mask then becomes a boundary, an interface between mortal flesh and the eternal spirit. Others see the mask as a metaphysical mirror, reflecting the paradox of kingship itself, a figurehead, a symbol whose power derives as much from perception and belief as from tangible rule. The hollow mask may hint at the fragility beneath regal grandeur, the unknowable essence behind a king's visage. The craftsmanship further adds to the mystery. The delicate layering of metal, the intricate designs hinting at floral or cosmic motifs, suggest a sophisticated symbolism encoded within the mask's very form. Could these designs relate to Elamite cosmology or religious practices? What beliefs about life, death, and rebirth might be concealed in the fine details? Inscriptions found near the tombs refer to divine kingship, the ruler's role as intermediary between gods and men. Yet much of the Elamite language remains only partially deciphered. This linguistic barrier leaves large gaps in our understanding of the rituals and meanings behind the mask. Were these funerary objects meant to protect the king's spirit? Or were they talismans to guard secrets best kept hidden? Beyond the established archaeological context, more speculative interpretations have emerged. Some researchers suggest the hollow mask may serve as a symbolic void, an empty vessel ready to be inhabited by ancestral spirits or divine forces. This concept echoes practices in other ancient cultures, where masks were not mere portraits but ritual objects facilitating transformation and communication with the other world. Could the Elamite kings have believed their earthly identity dissolved at death, leaving behind a vessel to carry their authority into the afterlife? If so, the hollow mask is both a reminder and a mystery, a crafted absence that speaks volumes through its silence. Intriguingly, some masks appear to bear subtle asymmetries or irregularities in their construction, leading to questions about their intended use. Were these masks purely symbolic, or did they once serve a practical function, perhaps worn in ceremonies or buried as protective talismans? The wear patterns and construction techniques offer clues but no definitive answers. Adding to the puzzle are references in Mesopotamian texts to ghost kings or shadows of rulers, entities that inhabit a liminal space between life and death. Is it possible that the hollow mask represents this shadow self, the lingering presence of a king's spirit after death? Such ideas weave the Elamite funerary practices into a broader tapestry of ancient beliefs about mortality and memory. Modern technology has allowed researchers to analyze these masks in unprecedented detail. Microscopic imaging reveals traces of pigments and organic compounds, suggesting that the masks may once have been adorned with vibrant colors or attached to textiles, enhancing their visual impact. Such discoveries hint at lost rituals of spectacle and reverence now faded from memory. Yet, despite these advances, the fundamental question remains: what was the true purpose of the hollow mask? Was it a ceremonial artifact, a spiritual symbol, or something else entirely? The silence of the Elamite tombs guards its secret well. Furthermore, the political context of these masks offers tantalizing clues. Elam was a land of shifting alliances and rivalries, frequently caught between the ambitions of Assyria, Babylon, and later Persia. The kings whose faces these masks once portrayed may have used such powerful symbolism to legitimize their reign, asserting divine sanction and eternal authority even in death. But what of the common people? Did these masks represent only the royal elite? Or did similar concepts permeate broader Elamite society? The archaeological record is sparse on everyday burial customs, leaving open questions about the mask's role in popular belief. The hollow mask also invites reflection on the nature of identity and memory. In a civilization where written records are scarce and much remains undeciphered, how did the Elamites conceive of selfhood, legacy, and the passage beyond? The mask, empty yet ornate, may be a profound metaphor for what we can never fully know about the past. As we peer into the empty eyes of the Elamite king's hollow masks, we confront an ancient paradox, a visage designed to preserve identity, yet intentionally left void. This duality invites us to ponder the limits of material culture in capturing the essence of human existence. What truths lie hidden beneath the gilded surface? What knowledge was encoded in the mask's subtle features, lost to time and silence? Could future discoveries, texts, artifacts, or tombs unlock the mysteries that have long eluded scholars? The hollow mask of the Elamite kings remains a poignant symbol of a civilization caught between worlds, past and present, life and afterlife, presence and absence. It challenges us to look beyond appearances, to listen closely to history's quiet enigmas, and to accept that some mysteries persist, inviting endless wonder. As we move from the silent gaze of the hollow masks, our journey turns toward another profound enigma of Elam, a civilization that once thrived at the crossroads of ancient empires, yet whose voice remains largely locked away in silence. This is the story of Elam's language, a tongue that spoke through clay tablets and carved inscriptions, but one that, even today, resists full understanding. For centuries, archaeologists have uncovered remnants of Elamite writing, cuneiform scripts etched onto stone, clay, and metal, marking official decrees, royal inscriptions, and religious texts. Yet unlike the well-studied languages of neighboring Mesopotamia, the Elamite script and language have confounded scholars, presenting a puzzle as complex and impenetrable as the desert winds that once swept across its ancient cities. Elam's written language dates back over 4,000 years, emerging alongside the earliest known civilizations of the Fertile Crescent. Its signs bear resemblance to the cuneiform system, that wedge-shaped writing first developed by the Sumerians, but they diverge in form and content in ways that suggest a unique linguistic heritage. This has sparked a slow and painstaking quest for comprehension, decades of decipherment attempts, linguistic analysis, and comparative studies. What makes Elamite so elusive? Some researchers suggest its vocabulary and grammar belong to a language isolate, unrelated to any known family. Others propose connections to languages of the later ancient Iranian world, or even more distant tongues, though such links remain speculative. Unlike Akkadian or Sumerian, languages that have been largely decoded, Elamite sits on the margins, partially understood but fundamentally incomplete. The evidence we possess comes mainly from administrative and monumental texts, often formulaic and repetitive, such as royal inscriptions glorifying kings or dedicatory prayers to deities. These documents reveal glimpses of a culture rich in religion, politics, and daily affairs, yet their broader meanings slip just beyond our grasp. Why does this matter? Because language is more than a system of symbols. It is the key to a civilization's mind, its worldview, and its story. Without understanding Elamite fully, much of Elam's history, culture, and belief remains locked away, like a secret waiting patiently beneath layers of earth and time. Some of the most intriguing discoveries have come from the royal archives at Susa, where inscriptions often intertwine with names and events documented by Mesopotamian scribes. These cross-references have allowed scholars to piece together partial narratives, accounts of wars, alliances, and royal successions. Yet large swaths remain enigmatic, words and phrases still unidentified, sentences whose meaning escapes modern tongues. Adding to the mystery are the ceremonial texts, which hint at religious rites and mythologies, unlike those known from neighboring cultures. What gods did the Elamites worship? What stories did they tell about creation, life, and death? The incomplete language leaves these questions tantalizingly unanswered, opening space for speculation but resisting definitive conclusions. In recent decades, some linguists have sought patterns in the inscriptions that suggest complex linguistic structures, tense, mood, and even possible gender distinctions. Others have noticed recurring symbols that may encode phonetic sounds or semantic concepts, hinting at a writing system more sophisticated than previously believed. Yet consensus remains elusive. The difficulty is compounded by the scarcity of bilingual texts, those crucial Rosetta Stones that helped decode Egyptian hieroglyphs and cuneiform Akkadian. Without parallel texts in known languages, the task becomes one of linguistic archaeology, excavating meaning from fragmentary clues. This partial silence invites a broader reflection on the nature of communication across time. How much of Elam's identity is lost in this linguistic gap? How do we reconstruct the life of a civilization when its voice is fragmented, its words shrouded in uncertainty? Beyond academic puzzles, some scholars and enthusiasts have entertained more speculative ideas. Could Elamite, in its mysterious form, represent a remnant of an ancient linguistic tradition now vanished elsewhere? Might it encode esoteric knowledge, religious secrets, or cosmological wisdom hidden in metaphor and symbol? While such notions cannot be confirmed, they remind us that language itself is a living archive, one that carries not only information, but also the emotions, fears, and hopes of those who spoke it. The Elamite tongue, silenced by time, still echoes faintly through the hollow masks and silent tombs. Interestingly, some modern technologies, machine learning algorithms, and advanced imaging techniques have recently been applied to Elamite texts, hoping to detect patterns invisible to the human eye. These tools offer promise for new insights, but also underscore how much remains to be uncovered. Even as we gain pieces of the linguistic puzzle, the deeper question remains: what truths, stories, or wisdom are locked behind these symbols? How much more lies beneath the surface of the artifacts, waiting for patient discovery? The story of Elam's language is not just about deciphering words. It is a meditation on the fragility of cultural memory, on the tenuous threads by which we connect to ancient lives. Each tablet, each inscription, is a whisper from a world that shaped the course of history, yet resists full revelation. As we contemplate these half-spoken words, we are reminded that some mysteries endure not because they lack explanation, but because they challenge us to think differently about knowledge, history, and the passage of time. The language of Elam continues to speak, if only in fragments, inviting us to listen carefully to what remains unsaid. So as we move forward through the echoes of lost civilizations, we carry with us the question of Elam's silent voice, a riddle wrapped in symbols, poised between past and present, known and unknown. What stories would Elam tell, if only its tongue could speak again? And in that lingering silence, the mystery lives on. In the vast tapestry of the ancient Near East, where mighty empires rose and fell like tides against the shore, there exists a shadowed corner of history, a story barely whispered among the ruins: Tuwana. This forgotten kingdom, nestled at the periphery of the Hittite Empire, is often overlooked, yet it holds secrets that beckon us deeper into the complexities of an age long vanished. The land of Tuwana was once a vital province in southern Anatolia, a crossroads of cultures and power. Its people, often described as the forgotten sons of the Hittites, inherited a legacy both rich and obscure. Archaeological discoveries have revealed traces of their cities, inscriptions etched in Luwian hieroglyphs, and artifacts that hint at a culture both connected and distinct from the grand Hittite civilization. Unlike the imperial capitals of Hattusa and Tarhuntasa, Tuwana remains elusive, its story fragmented across stone reliefs and scarce textual evidence. What do we really know about these shadows on the edges of empire? How did Tuwana maintain its identity amid the sprawling influence of Hittite kings and the pressures of rising neighbors? Excavations at key sites such as Tuwana's presumed capital have unearthed tantalizing clues: fortifications suggesting strategic importance, palatial ruins hinting at wealth and governance, and inscriptions invoking local deities whose names only faintly echo in other ancient texts. The language here, a form of Luwian, speaks to a distinct cultural identity, but much about the daily lives and beliefs of its people remains shrouded in mystery. Some historians propose that Tuwana served as a buffer state, a vassal kingdom that balanced diplomacy and defiance between powerful neighbors. Yet the extent of its autonomy is debated. Were the rulers of Tuwana loyal subjects or rebellious princes? Did they preserve ancient traditions that diverged from Hittite orthodoxy, or did they simply mirror the empire's grandeur on a smaller scale? Beyond politics, the very art and iconography of Tuwana carry enigmatic messages. Sculptures depict figures clad in unique attire, some wielding symbols whose meanings remain elusive. Are these depictions merely ornamental, or do they encode deeper religious or social hierarchies lost to time? One of the most compelling mysteries concerns the kingdom's sudden disappearance from historical records. As the Late Bronze Age collapsed around 1200 BCE, many civilizations crumbled under waves of upheaval, the so-called Bronze Age collapse. Tuwana, like its Hittite parent, faded into obscurity, but why and how remains unclear. Did Tuwana fall victim to the same forces that devastated the region: the sea peoples, natural disasters, internal strife? Or did it vanish in a more gradual process, assimilated quietly by successor states? Intriguingly, some inscriptions suggest that Tuwana persisted into the early Iron Age, raising questions about how it navigated the turbulent transition between eras. Speculation arises not only from archaeological silence, but also from cryptic references found in neighboring cultures' texts. Could Tuwana have played a covert role in wider regional politics, perhaps as a center for clandestine alliances or forgotten religious cults? Some fringe theories even posit that Tuwana might have harbored esoteric knowledge, secret traditions preserved in sanctuaries hidden beneath the city's ruins. While such ideas verge on conjecture, they highlight the gaps in our understanding, spaces where mystery thrives. The physical remnants of Tuwana, weathered by centuries, offer only fragments of a narrative that once shaped the destinies of kings and commoners alike. What of the people themselves? How did they perceive their world, their gods, their place in a cosmos dominated by larger empires? Without extensive written records, these questions linger unanswered, inviting us to imagine lives lived in shadow and resilience. Modern archaeological methods continue to peel back layers of earth and time, yet Tuwana guards its secrets closely. Satellite imagery reveals faint traces of lost roads and settlements, while ongoing digs occasionally unearth inscriptions whose meanings challenge existing interpretations. The language of the Luwian hieroglyphs here remains partly undeciphered, further complicating efforts to reconstruct Tuwana's history. Are we reading official proclamations or coded messages meant only for the initiated? Each new find raises as many questions as it answers. In a broader sense, Tuwana's story challenges us to reconsider the narratives we tell about ancient empires and their peripheries. Not every kingdom left grand monuments or abundant texts. Some survive only in shadows, traces, and whispers. Their histories are not less real, only less complete. As we trace these faint outlines, we confront the fragility of memory itself, how entire peoples and their stories can slip beneath the tides of time, visible only in fragments and echoes. Tuwana stands as a testament to the many forgotten voices of antiquity, urging us to listen carefully, to look beyond the obvious, and to embrace the unknown. What truths might still lie buried beneath the soil, waiting to reshape our understanding? How many stories have been lost, obscured by the passage of millennia, yet linger like shadows on ancient walls? In this silent kingdom, amid ruins and relics, the mystery endures. And as we continue to explore the forgotten sons of the Hittites, we remain humbled by the depth of history yet to be uncovered and the enduring power of the past to captivate our imagination. Nestled among the rolling hills and mist-shrouded valleys of ancient Korea lies a civilization whose silent monuments still whisper secrets. Secrets etched in stone, yet stubbornly refusing to yield their meaning. The Silla kingdom, one of the three kingdoms that shaped early Korean history, left behind an impressive legacy of cultural achievement and political might. But amidst the wealth of archaeological treasures, there remain enigmatic inscriptions carved on stones that have baffled scholars for generations. These stones, often found near burial mounds, ancient temples, and remote mountain sanctuaries, are adorned with symbols that diverge markedly from the known writing systems of East Asia. Unlike the familiar Chinese characters adopted later in Korean history, the inscriptions on these stones defy easy classification. Their forms are angular and abstract, sometimes resembling glyphs or pictograms, yet no universally accepted interpretation exists. They are the undeciphered stones of the Silla realms. Archaeologists first discovered these carved stones in the early 20th century, during excavations of royal tombs and sacred sites scattered across what was once the Silla heartland. The stones appeared to be markers, possibly commemorative or ritualistic, but without any accompanying texts or bilingual inscriptions, their message remains obscured. What language or code do these symbols represent? Who carved them? And why? Scholars have since attempted to decode the inscriptions by comparing them to Proto-Korean scripts, early Chinese characters, and even Central Asian writing systems. While some similarities emerge, none provide a definitive key. The shapes and patterns resist straightforward linguistic analysis, suggesting either a lost writing system or a symbolic script used for specific ceremonial purposes. Could these stones represent an ancient code, a form of proto-writing that predates the adoption of Chinese characters in Korea? Some theorists speculate that these symbols could have encoded oral traditions, religious beliefs, or genealogies vital to the Silla elite. Others propose that the stones were crafted by a distinct cultural group within Silla's diverse population, preserving a separate tradition of communication that was eventually eclipsed by more dominant scripts. The geographical distribution of these stones adds to the mystery. Found primarily in regions associated with the Silla royalty and nobility, their presence suggests a role in statecraft or religious ritual. Were these inscriptions part of secret ceremonies, known only to priests or the royal family? Or could they have functioned as territorial markers, spiritual talismans, or memorials for ancestors? Intriguingly, some stones bear motifs resembling constellations or natural elements, hinting at a cosmological dimension to their meaning. The connection between these carvings and Silla's complex spiritual life, rich with shamanistic practices, Buddhism, and indigenous beliefs, remains a subject of ongoing research and debate. Attempts to interpret the stones using modern technology have opened new avenues, High-resolution imaging and 3D scanning reveal subtle details invisible to the naked eye, such as faint incisions and layering in the carvings. Some researchers use computational pattern recognition to detect recurring symbols and potential syntax, yet each new discovery often deepens the puzzle rather than resolves it. Moreover, the undeciphered stones highlight a broader challenge in the study of ancient writing systems: how to distinguish between writing and symbolic art, between language and ritual imagery. Were these stones meant to be read as text, or should they be understood as sacred symbols with meanings beyond literal translation? This ambiguity invites reflection on the nature of communication in ancient cultures. Not all information was recorded in the ways we expect. Some messages were encoded in rituals, gestures, or objects, accessible only to select members of the community. The stones of Silla may be a testament to such layered communication, bridging the worlds of the living and the spiritual, the known and the ineffable. Yet, despite decades of scholarship, the stones' true significance remains tantalizingly out of reach. They are silent witnesses to a civilization whose full story is still partially hidden beneath the soil and the passing centuries. Could future discoveries, perhaps an as-yet undiscovered bilingual inscription or breakthroughs in linguistic theory, unlock the secrets carved in stone? Or are these symbols destined to remain a beautiful enigma, inviting wonder rather than definitive answers? As we consider the undeciphered stones of the Silla realms, we are reminded of the fragility of memory and the limits of human understanding. Each symbol carved into the rock is a fragment of a vanished world, a whisper from ancestors whose voices echo faintly through the ages. In that silence lies an invitation to look more closely, to think more deeply, and to accept that some mysteries endure, not as failures of knowledge, but as timeless connections to the unknown. So, as we continue our journey through lost civilizations, we carry with us the silent stones of Silla, guarding their secrets, waiting for the moment when their stories might finally be told. Along the sprawling, labyrinthine waterways of the Amazon Delta lies Marajó Island, an immense landmass where river meets ocean, and dense forests give way to vast wetlands. This enigmatic island, larger than some countries, conceals a forgotten chapter of human history beneath its rich and fertile soils. Here, amid the tangle of mangroves and floodplains, the footprints of an ancient civilization emerge. The lost architects of Marajó. Archaeologists first became aware of this mysterious culture in the early 20th century, when explorers and researchers uncovered vast earthworks known as geoglyphs, large, intentional modifications to the landscape that form geometric patterns, massive mounds, and intricate networks of canals and reservoirs. These monumental earthworks are no mere natural features. They speak to a sophisticated society with advanced engineering skills and a deep understanding of their environment. Marajó's ancient inhabitants sculpted the land itself as a living canvas, creating artificial hills and terraces that served multiple functions: ceremonial, residential, and agricultural. These massive constructions, some spanning hundreds of meters, stand as silent testimony to a people who thrived in a challenging, often inhospitable landscape. But who were these lost architects? Despite decades of excavation and study, their identity remains elusive. Carbon dating places their flourishing between roughly 400 and 1300 CE, but written records are non-existent. Their legacy survives only in the earthworks and the artifacts left behind: pottery, tools, and fragments of intricate ceramics with striking designs. One of the most puzzling aspects is the scale and complexity of the constructions. How did a population living in such a remote, flood-prone region manage to organize labor, resources, and knowledge to reshape their environment so profoundly? The precision and durability of the mounds and canals suggest an advanced understanding of hydrology and engineering, challenging previous assumptions about pre-Columbian Amazonian cultures. Traditional archaeological explanations frame the Marajó culture as a complex chiefdom with a hierarchical social structure, capable of mobilizing large-scale construction projects. Yet, questions linger. Could this civilization have possessed knowledge or technologies lost to history? How did they adapt to the seasonal flooding that dominates the region, transforming the landscape into a dynamic mosaic of water and land? The environmental challenges raise further mysteries. The Amazon Delta's shifting tides and sediment flows make the survival of such earthworks precarious. Yet these monumental forms have persisted for centuries, hinting at ingenious construction techniques and perhaps even rituals that harmonized human activity with the natural cycles. Some researchers speculate that the water management systems were not only practical but symbolic, reflecting a worldview that intertwined the spiritual with the ecological. Could the intricate canals have functioned as sacred pathways, or as a means to navigate between realms, physical and metaphysical? The enigmatic ceramics unearthed in Marajó add another layer of intrigue. Elaborate pottery decorated with stylized animal figures and geometric patterns reveals a sophisticated artistic tradition. These artifacts hint at a rich cultural life and possible connections with other Amazonian groups. Yet the absence of written language or clear iconography limits our ability to interpret their meaning. Beyond the archaeological record, there is a growing interest in the possible connections between the lost architects of Marajó and other ancient civilizations of the Americas. Some propose links to Andean cultures or to broader trade networks that crisscrossed the continent. Could Marajó have been a cultural crossroads, a vibrant hub where ideas and technologies flowed as freely as the rivers? The notion of lost knowledge evokes both fascination and caution. While some fringe theories suggest the presence of advanced or even extraterrestrial intervention, mainstream scholarship urges careful consideration of the evidence. What we can say with certainty is that the Marajó culture defies simple categorization and challenges the conventional narrative of Amazonian prehistory as a land of sparse nomadic populations. Recent advances in remote sensing and drone technology have begun to reveal even more about the scope of Marajó's earthworks. Hidden beneath dense vegetation, additional geoglyphs and settlement patterns emerge, expanding our understanding of this civilization's reach and influence. Yet, for all these discoveries, much remains unknown. The lack of written records, combined with the fragile preservation conditions of the tropical environment, means that the voices of the lost architects speak primarily through their monumental landscape, an open-air manuscript still only partially read. What motivated these people to invest such immense effort into reshaping their environment? Were the earthworks expressions of power and status or manifestations of spiritual beliefs deeply embedded in their relationship with the land and water? How did their society respond to environmental changes and external pressures, and what ultimately led to their decline? As we explore the lost architects of Marajó Island, we are reminded that history is often a puzzle with missing pieces. Each new excavation, each shard of pottery, brings us closer to understanding, but also reveals new questions. In the silent contours of these ancient mounds and canals, there lies a story of ingenuity, resilience, and mystery. It is a story waiting for the patient observer, one willing to listen to the subtle echoes of a civilization that once flourished where the river meets the sea. What truths remain buried beneath the shifting soils? What knowledge once lost might yet be rediscovered? The story of Marajó challenges us to rethink our assumptions about ancient civilizations and their capacity to shape the world around them. And so, the Earth keeps its secrets a little longer, inviting us to continue the search, to tread softly among the remnants, and to wonder about the lost architects whose hands moved mountains and carved rivers in the heart of the Amazon. High above the dense canopy of the Amazon rainforest, where sunlight filters through endless layers of emerald leaves, a whisper lingers, an echo of a people both elusive and extraordinary. Known to some as the Cloud People, these enigmatic inhabitants of the Amazon's heights have fascinated explorers, anthropologists, and indigenous legends alike. Their story is woven with threads of mystery, obscured by the thick mists that rise with the dawn, hiding truths as ancient as the forest itself. The Cloud People, or Chachapoya as they are historically named, thrived in the remote cloud forests of the northeastern Andes, their settlements perched precariously on cliffs and mountainsides shrouded in fog. The name Chachapoya itself translates to warriors of the clouds in Quechua, a fitting epithet for a civilization that inhabited such lofty and inaccessible terrain. Archaeological discoveries reveal a culture marked by sophisticated architecture and complex social organization. Their cities, built from stone and expertly integrated into the jagged landscape, defy expectations. Unlike the sprawling lowland settlements of the Amazon basin, these hilltop fortresses are masterful feats of engineering. Stone walls and circular tombs rising boldly amid the clouds, silent sentinels of a forgotten world. Among the most striking features of the Chachapoya are their mausoleums, circular stone structures known as sarcophagi, which house the remains of their dead. These tombs, often perched on cliff edges or hidden in caves, are adorned with enigmatic carvings and painted motifs. They speak of rituals and beliefs deeply connected to the natural world and the afterlife, yet their symbolism remains largely undeciphered. Despite the remarkable archaeological record, much about the Cloud People remains elusive. Written records are absent. Knowledge of their language and customs comes primarily through artifacts and the oral histories of neighboring cultures. The Inca, who conquered the region in the 15th century, documented the Chachapoya as fierce warriors, but offered little insight into their society's inner workings. What drove the Cloud People to settle in such perilous terrain? Some suggest that their choice of location was strategic. Fortified hilltops provided defense against enemies and natural disasters. Others speculate that their high-altitude homes were chosen for spiritual reasons, closer to the heavens and the gods. One of the greatest mysteries surrounding the Chachapoya lies in their sudden disappearance. After the Inca conquest, their presence seems to vanish from historical records, and later, European explorers found only ruins cloaked in the jungle mist. Did disease, warfare, or assimilation lead to their decline? Or could there be more hidden chapters yet to be uncovered? Intriguing hypotheses have emerged in recent years, fueled by new discoveries and cutting-edge technology. Advanced aerial surveys and LiDAR imaging have unveiled expansive, previously unknown sites, revealing a network of interconnected settlements far larger than once imagined. These findings hint at a civilization with complex social and economic structures, challenging earlier notions of isolated tribes. The enigmatic iconography found in Chachapoya art and artifacts also raises questions. Some symbols resemble those of distant Andean cultures, suggesting interactions or shared beliefs. Others are wholly unique, perhaps representing spiritual concepts lost to time. Are these motifs coded messages, clan identifiers, or religious symbols? The silence of these signs invites endless speculation. Local legends add another layer to the mystery. Stories passed down through generations speak of the Cloud People as beings with supernatural abilities, guardians of sacred knowledge and keepers of the rainforest's secrets. Tales tell of their ability to disappear into the fog, or of a vanished city hidden deep in the clouds, an echo of Avalon or Shambhala whispered in South American tongues. Could these legends preserve fragments of truth, transformed by time and imagination? Or do they merely reflect the human desire to connect with the unknown? Regardless, they highlight the enduring fascination that the Cloud People inspire, bridging the gap between history and myth. The ecological context of the Cloud People's existence is itself a profound enigma. The cloud forests are among the most biodiverse and challenging environments on Earth, with unpredictable weather and rugged terrain. How did the Chachapoya sustain themselves in such conditions? What agricultural or survival techniques allowed them to flourish where others could not? Archaeobotanical studies suggest they cultivated crops suited to high altitudes and mastered hunting and gathering practices tailored to their environment. Water management, terracing, and possibly controlled burns indicate a sophisticated relationship with the landscape, a harmony between human innovation and nature's demands. Yet, despite these advances, the culture's eventual disappearance remains a puzzle. Was their decline a gradual fading into surrounding populations, or did external forces abruptly end their reign? The lack of clear evidence keeps the question open, a lingering shadow over their legacy. Modern interest in the Cloud People is growing, propelled by both scientific curiosity and popular fascination. Expeditions venture into the dense forests and steep slopes, uncovering new sites and artifacts, each discovery adding to a slowly emerging portrait of a civilization both remarkable and mysterious. Still, the echoes of the Cloud People remain faint, their voices carried on the winds that sweep through the treetops. Their story challenges us to reconsider what it means to be lost, and to wonder about the knowledge that vanished alongside them. As we peer into the cloud-covered past, we are left with more questions than answers. What truths are hidden beneath the moss-covered stones and tangled vines? How much of their world can we ever truly know? So, as the mist swirls and the jungle breathes, we continue to listen for the whispers of the Cloud People, ancient echoes lost in the Amazon sky, waiting patiently to be heard once again. Deep within the ancient woodlands of Japan, where towering cedars stretch toward a mist-laden sky and the forest floor is carpeted with centuries of fallen leaves, lies a story whispered by the soil itself. This is the realm of the Jōmon people, a civilization whose roots burrow deep into prehistory, whose legacy is etched not in grand monuments, but in subtle traces scattered across the landscape. Here, amid these serene forests, the dreams of a lost culture lie buried, waiting to be unearthed and understood. The Jōmon period, spanning roughly from 14,000 to 300 BCE, represents one of the world's longest continuous cultures. Named after the distinctive cord-marked pottery that defines their era, the Jōmon people inhabited a land rich in natural resources and brimming with life. Yet, unlike the monumental stone cities of other ancient civilizations, their heritage is hidden beneath the forest canopy, woven into the patterns of hearths, middens, and delicate ceramics that survive the passage of time. Archaeologists have uncovered countless Jōmon sites scattered throughout Japan, revealing settlements often nestled beside rivers or coastal inlets, where abundant fish and game supported thriving communities. These hunter-gatherers crafted intricate tools and pottery, some of the oldest in the world, which hint at complex social rituals and spiritual beliefs. The unmistakable marks of their craft suggest a people attuned to both nature's rhythms and the mysteries beyond. What captivates researchers is the enigmatic nature of the Jōmon themselves. Despite thousands of years of occupation, no clear written language or centralized political structure has been found. Instead, the story emerges through fragments, stone circles, burial sites, and figurines, particularly the haunting dogu, small clay figures with exaggerated features, which many believe held spiritual or ritual significance. These dogu evoke questions as compelling as they are elusive. What did these figures represent? Were they protective talismans, embodiments of deities, or perhaps conduits to other realms? Their meticulous craftsmanship, often with eyes wide and staring, hints at a worldview rich in symbolism and meaning, yet one that remains beyond our full comprehension. As we venture deeper into the Jōmon forests, a quiet mystery grows. How did this culture endure for millennia without developing the kind of urban centers or monumental architecture seen elsewhere? Was their connection to the natural world so profound that they deliberately chose a path of subtlety, weaving their existence into the land rather than reshaping it? The forest itself seems to guard these secrets. The ancient trees and mossy stones stand as silent witnesses to a civilization that thrived in harmony with its environment, adapting ingeniously to changing climates and landscapes. Seasonal cycles dictated their movements and rituals, reflected in the arrangement of their dwellings and the design of their tools. Yet, the Jōmon's decline and transformation remain a puzzle. Around 300 BCE, their way of life gradually gave way to new cultural influences, including the Yayoi people who introduced rice agriculture and metal tools. What triggered this shift? Was it peaceful assimilation, conflict, or environmental change? The archaeological record hints at complex interactions, but offers no definitive answers. Adding to the intrigue are recent discoveries of large-scale Jōmon sites that challenge earlier assumptions. In places like Sanai Maruyama, expansive settlements with longhouses and sophisticated storage pits reveal a society far more complex than previously imagined. These findings force a reevaluation of the Jōmon as simple hunter-gatherers, suggesting instead a nuanced culture with elements of social hierarchy and community planning. Still, many aspects remain obscure. The motivations behind their artistic expressions, the nature of their spirituality, and the full extent of their trade and communication networks are subjects of ongoing research and debate. Did the Jōmon maintain connections with neighboring regions, exchanging ideas and goods, or were they isolated in their forested world? Speculative theories abound, some proposing that the Dagu figures represent shamanic practices or altered states of consciousness. Could these artifacts be keys to understanding a spiritual dimension that shaped Jōmon life and death? Others suggest environmental factors, such as volcanic eruptions or climate fluctuations, played a role in their cultural transformations. The forest, with its dappled light and hidden paths, invites us to ponder these possibilities. Each excavation uncovers new layers, but also deepens the mystery. How much of the Jōmon story is written in the earth, and how much lost to time? As the shadows lengthen beneath the towering trees, we find ourselves drawn into the quiet persistence of a civilization that chose a different path, a civilization whose dreams were buried beneath the leaves, waiting for patient hands to uncover them. What truths remain entwined in the roots of the Jōmon forests? What voices linger in the silence, waiting to be heard once more? The story of the Jōmon invites us not only to uncover the past, but to reflect on the myriad ways humans have shaped and been shaped by the world around them. It is a tale still unfolding, a buried dream beckoning us to listen closely and to wonder. As we leave the shores of the Ryukyu Islands and their ocean whispers behind, our journey draws us deeper into the heart of Southeast Asia, to a land where ancient kingdoms once flourished beneath the dense canopy of tropical forests. Here, among the river valleys and fertile plains of what is now central Thailand, lies the enigmatic realm of Dvaravati, a civilization whose echoes have long faded into silence, yet whose legacy remains etched in stone and earth, awaiting rediscovery. Dvaravati, a term meaning that which has gates, refers to a culture that thrived roughly between the 6th and 11th centuries CE. It stands as one of the earliest known Thai states, a cradle of Buddhist art, and a bridge linking the Indian cultural sphere with emerging Southeast Asian polities. But unlike the grand empires immortalized by vast monuments or enduring written histories, Dvaravati's traces are subtle. Fragments of pottery, scattered temple ruins, and sculpted stones speaking softly of a civilization once vibrant but now shrouded in mystery. Walking through the archaeological sites scattered around places like Nakhon Pathom and Uthong, one cannot help but feel a profound sense of stillness, as if the land itself is holding its breath. The weathered stone stupas and Buddha images stand as solemn witnesses to a bygone era, their faces serene yet inscrutable, their presence both comforting and haunting. What stories did these monuments once tell? And why did this culture seemingly dissolve into silence, its centers abandoned and its people dispersed? The answer remains elusive. Scholars have pieced together Dvaravati's story from inscriptions in Old Mon script, revealing a society deeply influenced by Indian religious and artistic traditions. Buddhism, especially the Theravada school, flourished here, leaving behind richly decorated stupas and ritual artifacts. These objects testify to a sophisticated spiritual life and a network of trade and cultural exchange that extended far beyond the kingdom's modest geographic footprint. Yet much about Dvaravati defies easy explanation. Unlike more centralized empires, it appears to have been a loose confederation of city-states rather than a unified kingdom. This decentralized nature may explain why its political and cultural identity remains fragmented, and why it ultimately faded from history's main stage. But was this fragmentation a weakness, or rather a deliberate strategy for resilience in a volatile region? Adding to the intrigue are the cryptic stone inscriptions and enigmatic artifacts, whose meanings still puzzle experts. Some inscriptions provide tantalizing glimpses of political alliances, religious practices, and even conflicts, but many remain partially deciphered or open to interpretation. Did Dvaravati possess a written language that has since vanished? Or were their records primarily oral, preserved in ritual and memory rather than carved in stone? Beyond the established facts, the land itself invites speculation. Could environmental changes, shifting river courses, floods, or droughts, have played a role in Dvaravati's decline? Archaeological evidence suggests that the kingdom was heavily reliant on riverine trade and agriculture, making it vulnerable to ecological shifts. Yet, the exact impact of these factors remains uncertain. More speculative theories delve into the cultural and spiritual dimensions of Dvaravati's silence. Some researchers propose that the civilization practiced esoteric forms of Buddhism or animism, reflected in the complex iconography of their sculptures and temple layouts. Might these sacred spaces have been designed to align with cosmic forces or local geomantic principles, weaving the physical and spiritual worlds together? Other mysteries revolve around Dvaravati's relationships with neighboring cultures. How did it interact with the Khmer Empire rising to the east, or the Mon and Thai peoples migrating through the region? Was Dvaravati a cultural melting pot, absorbing influences from India, China, and indigenous traditions, or was it a unique synthesis born from local innovation? The archaeological record remains tantalizing but incomplete. Excavations continue to reveal new sites, burial grounds, and artifacts, yet each discovery seems to raise more questions than answers. Why did some centers flourish while others vanished? What caused the eventual eclipse of Dvaravati by later kingdoms such as the Khmer and Sukhothai? Did it dissolve peacefully, assimilated into emerging powers, or was it uprooted by conflict and upheaval? As we wander through the ruins, the silence deepens, inviting us to listen carefully, not only to the stones and relics, but also to the gaps and absences, the spaces where history refuses to speak clearly. It is in this silence that the true mystery lies, the story of a civilization that blossomed, thrived, and then quietly slipped beneath the tides of time. What truths remain buried beneath the soil? What lost wisdom and forgotten lives linger just beyond our reach? The descent into Dvaravati's silence is an invitation to contemplate the fragile nature of human achievement and the countless histories still waiting to be rediscovered. And so, the mystery endures, silent yet profound, beckoning us to explore further, to seek meaning in the echoes of an ancient world, and to wonder what else might lie hidden beneath the quiet earth of this forgotten kingdom. Beneath the endless expanse of Arctic Siberia lies a world frozen in time, a realm of ice and snow where silence reigns supreme, and the secrets of humanity's earliest journeys whisper faintly through the frozen winds. The landscape is stark and unforgiving, a vast tundra stretching to horizons where pale sun and endless night define the rhythm of existence. Yet beneath this seemingly barren facade, traces of ancient civilizations stir the imagination, hints of forgotten peoples who once made this harsh wilderness their cradle. For centuries, the Arctic has been viewed as a desolate frontier, inhospitable and remote. But recent discoveries have challenged that assumption, revealing that long before recorded history, humans traversed these frozen lands, adapting, surviving, and perhaps even thriving. Archaeological finds, stone tools, remnants of dwellings, and enigmatic carvings have surfaced amid melting permafrost and shifting ice, shedding light on a mysterious chapter of human prehistory that remains largely unexplored. The Siberian Arctic is a puzzle piece in the broader story of human migration, a gateway between continents and cultures. How did early humans navigate such a forbidding environment? What technologies and knowledge did they develop to endure extreme cold and scarce resources? And what drove them to venture so far north, into realms where survival was precarious and the landscape merciless? Fossilized remains and artifacts suggest that human presence in this region dates back tens of thousands of years, possibly to times when ice sheets receded, opening corridors for movement between Asia and the Americas. This raises tantalizing questions about the origins of the first peoples to cross the Bering Land Bridge and the cultures that preceded them. Could the Arctic have been not merely a passage, but a place of settlement and cultural development in its own right? The discoveries are remarkable but fragmentary. Some sites reveal clusters of stone tools arranged in patterns that hint at social organization and ritual. Others feature carvings and symbols etched into bone or stone, their meanings lost to time but evoking a profound sense of purpose and communication. These markings may represent early attempts at storytelling or spiritual expression, echoes of a worldview shaped by the harshness and beauty of the polar environment. Yet many aspects remain unexplained. The abrupt changes in climate and glacial coverage that punctuated the Pleistocene epoch would have dramatically altered landscapes and habitability, forcing these ancient peoples to adapt or disappear. Did they possess sophisticated survival strategies, clothing, shelter, hunting techniques that have yet to be fully understood? What knowledge did they pass down, and how did their cultures evolve or vanish under shifting ice? Beyond the archaeological record, local indigenous legends speak of ancient ancestors and mysterious beings inhabiting the Arctic's frozen wastes, tales of hidden worlds beneath the ice, of lost tribes and vanished cities swirl in oral traditions, stories that blend history, myth, and the human impulse to explain the inexplicable. While such narratives resist scientific validation, they nonetheless enrich the tapestry of mystery surrounding the region. More speculative theories propose that beneath the Arctic ice lie buried ruins or artifacts from advanced prehistoric cultures, remnants obscured by glaciers and millennia. Some fringe hypotheses suggest connections to lost continents or ancient global civilizations, though these claims remain unsubstantiated. Still, the very possibility invites wonder. What might lie concealed beneath the ice, awaiting discovery as glaciers recede? Modern technology, from satellite imagery to ground-penetrating radar, increasingly enables exploration beneath the surface, promising new insights into this frozen cradle of human history. Each expedition brings both answers and new enigmas, deepening our appreciation for the resilience and ingenuity of ancient peoples who dared to inhabit Earth's most extreme frontiers. As we ponder the secrets of Arctic Siberia, we are reminded that history is not merely a record of great empires and famous cities, but also of silent, hidden worlds where human endurance was tested against nature's fiercest challenges. The ice may preserve these stories, but it also obscures them, guarding mysteries that may never be fully unraveled. What truths lie buried beneath the Arctic's frozen crust? How did these ancient Arctic peoples shape the course of human migration and cultural development? The questions linger, an open invitation to continue probing the icy depths, where time and memory intertwine in a landscape as enigmatic as the civilizations it once sheltered. And so, our journey into the cradle beneath the ice continues. Quiet, profound, and full of unanswered wonder. Beneath the rolling hills and rugged landscapes of the Mediterranean island of Sardinia rise a series of enigmatic stone towers, silent sentinels from a distant past that beckon us to unravel their secrets. These towering structures, known as Nuragic, scatter the island's terrain by the thousands, more than 7,000 documented sites, forming a dense, mysterious network of ancient architecture whose origins and purpose continue to elude full understanding. The Nuragic civilization, which built these imposing stone towers, flourished from approximately 1800 BCE to 500 BCE during the Bronze and Iron Ages. Yet despite extensive archaeological study, much about these people remains cloaked in mystery. Who were they? What compelled them to erect these massive constructions, some soaring nearly 20 meters high, fashioned from immense blocks of basalt and limestone without the aid of mortar or metal tools? And how did they live, communicate, and organize their society across this rugged island landscape? Approaching a nurag, one is immediately struck by its sheer presence. A truncated conical tower, often surrounded by smaller outbuildings or walls, constructed with precision and an understanding of structural stability that challenges assumptions about prehistoric engineering. Their interiors, featuring complex corridors and chambers, suggest more than mere defensive functions. Were these towers fortresses, religious temples, community centers, or perhaps all of these, serving layered roles within Nuragic society? Excavations reveal evidence of habitation, ceramics, tools, and traces of metalworking, pointing to a culture adept in craftsmanship and trade. The Nuragic people engaged in exchanges with neighboring civilizations, from the Mycenaeans to the Phoenicians, weaving Sardinia into a broader Mediterranean web. Yet, despite these connections, the language and written records of the Nuragic remain lost to us, leaving an interpretive void. This absence of deciphered script deepens the enigma. Without direct textual evidence, scholars rely on material culture and comparative studies, piecing together Nuragic life from what remains. Tombs, sacred wells, statues, and the silent towers themselves. The famous bronze figurines, depicting warriors, animals, and mythic beings, offer tantalizing glimpses into Nuragic belief systems, suggesting a complex cosmology intertwined with nature, warfare, and spirituality. But the mysteries do not end there. The scale and density of Nuragic raise profound questions about the social and political structures of this civilization. Did these towers represent competing clans, each erecting their stronghold? Or were they nodes in a cooperative network, united by common customs or governance? Some scholars speculate that the Nuragic people formed a confederation, a loose alliance of tribal groups whose identities remain obscure to us. More intriguing still are the unusual architectural features found in some Nuragic. Certain towers incorporate astronomical alignments, with entrances or windows oriented toward solstices or celestial events. Could these have functioned as ancient observatories or ritual sites, linking the community's temporal life to cosmic cycles? This intersection of stone and star evokes a civilization deeply attuned to both earthly and celestial realms. Yet alongside the archaeological record, legends and folklore entwine with the ruins. Sardinian myths speak of giants, ancient kings, and hidden treasures buried beneath the Nuragic. Some local traditions hold that these towers were built by supernatural beings or serve as gateways to other worlds. While these stories resist empirical scrutiny, they enrich the atmosphere of wonder enveloping the Nuragic legacy. In recent decades, alternative theories have surfaced, suggesting more speculative interpretations. Some propose that the Nuragic were part of a vast network of energy nodes or ancient power grids, resonating with Earth's natural frequencies. Others posit connections to lost civilizations predating the Bronze Age, or even links to Mediterranean myths such as Atlantis. While these ideas captivate the imagination, they remain outside mainstream scholarship. Today, Sardinia's Nuragic stand as silent witnesses to a civilization that thrived, innovated, and ultimately vanished into the folds of history. Their monumental presence raises timeless questions about human creativity, resilience, and the legacies we leave behind. What truths lie hidden within their stones? What stories remain untold, buried beneath centuries of earth and memory? As we gaze upon these ancient towers, silhouetted against the Mediterranean sky, we are invited to ponder the unknown chapters of human history. The Nuragic people crafted a world both tangible and elusive, one that challenges us to look beyond the visible and seek meaning in the shadows of time. And so the mystery endures, inviting us to explore further, to listen to the whispers of stone, and to wonder what secrets Sardinia's stone towers may yet reveal. Beneath the rugged peaks and sweeping valleys of the Caucasus Mountains, a silent testament to ancient ingenuity stands etched into the landscape. The megalithic structures scattered across this borderland between Europe and Asia. These towering stones, weathered by millennia of wind and rain, rise like cracked mirrors reflecting shadows of a distant past, a past both alluring and elusive. The megaliths of the Caucasus are unlike the more widely known stone circles and dolmens of Western Europe. Here, the stones possess a unique ruggedness, a raw monumentality that speaks to a civilization shaped by the formidable terrain and shifting cultures. Dating back several thousand years, these monoliths are often arranged in enigmatic formations, circles, rows, and isolated standing stones whose purpose still defies easy explanation. Approaching these sites, one cannot help but feel the weight of silence. An absence of written records leaves archaeologists to interpret the stones themselves, alongside scattered artifacts that suggest ritual, burial, or perhaps astronomical significance. The stones' surfaces bear faint carvings, abstract symbols, and what some describe as cracks that shimmer faintly under the changing light. An optical illusion or intentional design. These cracked mirrors seem to reflect more than physical light. They reflect the fractured history of the people who shaped them. Scholars have pieced together glimpses of the societies that once thrived here, possibly ancestors to the myriad ethnic groups now inhabiting the region. Their lives, encased in these stones, remain only partially revealed. Were the megaliths territorial markers, sacred altars, or a form of ancient communication? Some align with celestial bodies, hinting at an early understanding of astronomy, while others seem strategically placed near water sources or mountain passes, suggesting a blend of the practical and the spiritual. The mystery deepens when examining the stone's cracked appearance. Geological processes over thousands of years have fractured many of the monoliths, yet some cracks appear too symmetrical, too deliberate to be mere chance. Could these fractures hold symbolic meaning, representing duality, cycles of life and death, or gateways between worlds? Or might they have served as resonators, amplifying sound during ritual ceremonies, their mirrors reflecting unseen energies? These questions invite speculation, but also caution. The absence of contemporary texts means modern interpretations rely heavily on conjecture. Some fringe theories propose that these megaliths were built by an advanced prehistoric culture with lost technologies, or even by visitors from distant lands or otherworldly origins. While captivating, these ideas remain outside mainstream archaeology, which favors evidence-based analysis and the slow unraveling of clues. In recent decades, technology has enabled new explorations. LiDAR mapping reveals subtle patterns in the landscape invisible to the naked eye, and ground-penetrating radar uncovers buried features near the stones, ancient hearths, post holes, and artifacts that may provide context. Yet, each discovery seems to deepen the mystery rather than solve it, suggesting layers of use and meaning that evolved over centuries. Local legends and folklore add another dimension. Tales of mountain spirits, hidden treasures, and ancient kings whisper through the villages near these megaliths. Some believe the stones possess protective powers or serve as conduits between the physical world and the spiritual realm. Such stories, while not historically verifiable, echo humanity's perennial desire to find connection and meaning in monumental stone. As the sun sets behind the jagged Caucasus peaks, casting long shadows over the cracked stones, we are left with an enduring enigma. These megaliths are not merely relics of stone, they are silent witnesses to a lost worldview, a culture that shaped and was shaped by a landscape as harsh as it was beautiful. What messages were carved, what rituals performed, and what lives lived in the shadow of these cracked mirrors. The stones endure, their secrets locked within fractures that reflect not only light, but the inscrutable depths of human history. And so the story continues, inviting us to look closer, to listen carefully, and to wonder what truths the megalithic Caucasus still holds beneath its weathered surface. Beneath the soaring peaks and dense forests of a remote mountainous region in East Asia lies a story shrouded in both history and silence. The story of the Zangxian kingdom. Once a radiant beacon of culture, craftsmanship, and spiritual depth, the Zangxian kingdom flourished for centuries before vanishing almost without a trace, leaving behind a tapestry of ruins, enigmatic artifacts, and whispers of a lost light from an ancient mountain realm. As we descend into the mist-shrouded valleys where Zangxian once thrived, the landscape itself seems to hold its breath. Towering cliffs cradle weathered stone terraces, remnants of terraced agriculture that speak to a sophisticated understanding of the environment and its rhythms. Scattered fragments of pottery, tools, and inscriptions hint at a society deeply connected to its mountainous world, yet profoundly mysterious in its identity and fate. The historical record offers tantalizing but frustratingly limited glimpses into the Zangxian kingdom. Early travelers and traders mention a vibrant mountain culture known for its exquisite metalwork, intricate textiles, and ritual sites where the heavens seemed to touch the earth. Archaeologists have unearthed temple foundations adorned with symbols unfamiliar to surrounding civilizations, suggesting unique religious beliefs and possibly an advanced cosmology. Yet beyond these shards of certainty lies a vast unknown. Who were the people of Zangxian? How did they harness the formidable mountain environment to create a thriving kingdom? And what dark forces or calamities led to their disappearance? Unlike many ancient civilizations preserved in written chronicles or monumental inscriptions, Zangxian's voice was almost entirely silenced by time, its stories preserved only in cryptic relics and oral traditions whispered among neighboring peoples. Exploring the artifacts uncovered at Zangxian sites reveals a blend of influences, some echoing the great empires of East Asia, others suggesting interactions with distant cultures across the Silk Road. This cultural cross-pollination challenges assumptions about the kingdom's isolation, painting a picture of a vibrant hub where ideas, goods, and spiritual practices converged. Yet, many symbols remain undeciphered, locked in a visual language that eludes modern understanding. One particularly intriguing aspect of the Zangxian legacy is their use of light and shadow in sacred spaces. Archaeologists have identified ruins where natural sunlight, filtered through intricately carved stone screens, created shifting patterns that may have played a role in ritual observances. This vanished light phenomenon has led some scholars to speculate on a sophisticated relationship with astronomy and seasonal cycles, an ancient knowledge now lost beneath the layers of earth and myth. The mystery deepens when considering the kingdom's sudden decline. Was it a slow fading, eroded by environmental changes or shifting trade routes? Or was it a catastrophic event, a siege, a natural disaster, or a cultural upheaval that extinguished the flame of Zangxian? Some researchers point to climate data suggesting periods of drought or seismic activity that could have devastated the mountainous terrain. Others emphasize social dynamics, proposing internal strife or external invasions as possible causes. Speculative theories abound. Some suggest that Zangxian might have possessed technological or spiritual insights lost to history, perhaps early forms of energy harnessing or esoteric wisdom encoded in their art and architecture. Others imagine a deliberate erasure of the kingdom from dominant historical narratives, a marginalized culture overshadowed by more dominant neighbors. Yet, despite the allure of such ideas, the facts remain elusive. The archaeological record offers fragments but no definitive answers, and the lack of decipherable texts keeps Zangxian's story tantalizingly incomplete. Its silence challenges historians and archaeologists alike to approach the mystery with humility, patience, and openness to multiple possibilities. As we stand amid the ruins bathed in the soft mountain light, it is tempting to imagine the lives once lived here. The artisans crafting exquisite works, the priests observing celestial rhythms, the families tending terraced fields that clung to the slopes. We glimpse a civilization both extraordinary and ephemeral, a vanished light flickering faintly in the shadowed corridors of time. What truths remain buried beneath the soil and stone? What echoes of Zangxian's vanished light might still shimmer, waiting to be uncovered? The mystery remains open, inviting us to continue the journey of discovery with reverence and wonder, mindful that some secrets may resist illumination indefinitely. And so the story of the Zangxian kingdom lingers, a luminous enigma nestled in the mountains, calling us to peer beyond the veil of time and contemplate the fragile brilliance of forgotten worlds. Beneath the vast, wind-swept expanse of the Gobi Desert, where scorching days give way to biting cold nights, there lies a paradox as puzzling as the desert itself, the mysterious formations known as the Lost Gobi Circles. These enigmatic stone circles, scattered sporadically across the harsh terrain, have baffled explorers and archaeologists alike for decades. Their silent presence in a land of extremes evokes questions that ripple through the annals of ancient history and human ingenuity. The Gobi Desert is a realm defined by contrast. Its relentless heat by day and freezing temperatures by night forge an environment both unforgiving and timeless. Here, where life clings stubbornly to existence, the lost Gobi circles stand as quiet sentinels, their rough-hewn stones arranged with deliberate precision in configurations that hint at purposes lost to time. Initial surveys recorded these circles as simple, rudimentary constructs, ancient enclosures or animal corrals perhaps. Yet, as research deepened, their complexity unfolded. The stones vary in size from small boulders to towering monoliths, their placement forming patterns that some researchers suggest could align with celestial phenomena, the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. The very notion of frozen fires encapsulates this paradox. Rings of stone seemingly harnessing the energy of distant suns, their geometry a frozen echo of ancient flames or cosmic forces. Archaeological findings around these sites are sparse but telling. Fragments of pottery, stone tools, and traces of ancient hearths suggest human activity spanning millennia, hinting at nomadic tribes or early pastoralists who once traversed these lands. Yet, no clear inscriptions or artifacts reveal who built the circles or why. Were they ritual spaces, astronomical observatories, territorial markers, or something altogether different? Perhaps even a prehistoric calendar etched in stone? One of the most captivating aspects of the lost Gobi circles is their resilience. Through centuries of sandstorms and shifting dunes, these stone rings have endured, weathering the passage of time like frozen embers locked beneath layers of earth. Their very survival raises questions about the technology and motivation of their creators. How did they move and position such stones in this barren landscape, and what was the significance of their placement? Speculative theories abound. Some scholars propose that these circles were central to ancient spiritual practices, places where nomads gathered to observe the skies and mark seasonal changes critical for survival. Others suggest they were beacons, designed to be seen from afar, signals etched into the desert to guide travelers or to delineate sacred ground. Fringe ideas occasionally emerge, suggesting lost civilizations with advanced astronomical knowledge or even extraterrestrial intervention, hypotheses that, while intriguing, remain unsupported by concrete evidence. Modern technology offers new tools to explore these mysteries. Satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar reveal subtle patterns invisible to the naked eye, indicating that some circles may be part of larger interconnected networks across the Gobi. These findings open the door to considering the circles not as isolated curiosities, but as components of a vast, ancient landscape imbued with meaning. Local folklore adds a poetic layer to the enigma. Among the desert peoples, tales speak of fires that never burn out and stones that glow under the moonlight. Stories that weave a thread of human wonder through the cold, arid expanse. Could these myths be echoes of the circle's original purpose, or are they later interpretations of an older mystery? As the sun sets over the endless sands, casting long shadows across the stones, one senses a dialogue between the earth and sky, a silent conversation carried across generations. The lost Gobi circles, like frozen fires, capture a moment of human expression frozen in time, part of a narrative that challenges our understanding of ancient cultures and their relationship with the cosmos. What secrets do these stone rings conceal beneath their weathered surfaces? What knowledge, now obscured by millennia, did their creators possess? And how might these enduring symbols reshape our view of human history in the harshest of environments? The answers remain elusive, inviting us to peer deeper into the shadows of the desert and to wonder what other frozen fires await discovery beneath the sands of the Gobi. Beneath the stark skies and rugged terrain of the Balochistan Plateau, where jagged mountains meet vast, sun-baked plains, there lies a silent testament to a civilization long forgotten, an ancient architectural legacy known only through its enigmatic stone structures and whispered legends. These are the stone voices of the forgotten Baloch builders, an elusive chapter in human history, etched not in texts, but in weathered rock and enduring mystery. As we move closer to the scattered ruins, the enormity of their presence begins to take shape. Massive stone walls, expertly crafted terraces, and intricate carvings rise from the earth, their surfaces worn smooth by millennia of wind and sand. Yet these are not mere remnants of utilitarian constructions. They suggest a society that valued artistry, spirituality, and a deep connection to the natural world around them. The Balochistan region, today marked by arid landscapes and sparse settlements, once played host to vibrant communities whose architectural skills rival those of better-known ancient cultures. However, unlike civilizations such as Mesopotamia or the Indus Valley, the builders here left behind few written records. Their stories must be deciphered from the stones themselves, whose voices call out across centuries, challenging archaeologists to piece together their history. Among the most striking features are the mysterious stone platforms and megalithic structures that dot the plateau. Some resemble defensive fortifications, suggesting strategic considerations, while others appear ceremonial or religious in purpose. The scale and precision of these constructions hint at sophisticated engineering knowledge, yet the absence of clear inscriptions leaves questions hanging in the air. Who exactly were these architects? What motivated their labor and vision? The few artifacts uncovered, pottery shards, tools fashioned from obsidian and flint, and fragments of ornamental jewelry, offer tantalizing clues. They speak of a culture engaged in trade, craftsmanship, and ritual. Some symbols carved into the stones bear no clear relation to known scripts or iconography from neighboring regions, deepening the mystery. Were these signs part of a forgotten language or symbolic system lost to time? Exploring the surrounding landscape reveals a strategic mastery of the environment. The builders harnessed natural water channels, constructed terraces to prevent erosion, and oriented their structures in relation to celestial events. Such alignments hint at a spiritual cosmology intertwined with practical concerns, a worldview where the heavens and earth met in stone. Yet many questions remain unanswered. How did this society sustain itself in such a harsh environment? What led to its eventual decline and disappearance from the historical record? Some scholars suggest shifts in climate or water availability, while others propose social upheaval or external pressures from expanding neighboring powers. Speculative theories add layers to the intrigue. Could the forgotten Baloch builders have been custodians of ancient wisdom, preserving esoteric knowledge through their stone monuments? Might they have played a pivotal role in connecting the cultures of Central Asia with those of the Indian subcontinent? Some fringe hypotheses even hint at links to lost civilizations or extraterrestrial influences, ideas that, while captivating, lack concrete evidence but underscore the enduring fascination with these silent stones. Modern technology is beginning to shed new light. Remote sensing, 3D mapping, and material analysis offer unprecedented views into construction techniques and site usage. Yet, each discovery seems to raise further questions, emphasizing the complexity and depth of this lost culture. Local oral traditions continue to echo the presence of these ancient builders. Stories of stone spirits and sacred groves preserve fragments of memory, hinting at a spiritual relationship between the people and their monumental works. These narratives, passed down through generations, weave a tapestry that blends history, myth, and reverence. As we stand amidst these weathered stones, the silence is profound. The voices of the forgotten Baloch builders speak not in words, but in shadows and light, in patterns carved deep into rock, in the very earth that holds their remains. They remind us that history is not always written in books, but often etched quietly in the landscape, waiting for patient eyes to listen. What secrets lie hidden beneath these stones? What stories of human endeavor, belief, and resilience remain locked in the folds of time? The mystery endures, inviting us to explore not only the ruins themselves, but the very nature of memory and loss. And so, the stone voices call us forward, into the unknown depths of a civilization whose echoes still resonate beneath the barren skies of Balochistan, whispering of worlds forgotten yet never entirely lost. Beneath the shimmering waves that lap the eastern shores of the Mediterranean, where the sun casts golden light upon ancient sands and modern cities alike, lies a story both elusive and compelling, one whispered across millennia, yet stubbornly refusing to reveal its full truth. the vanished footprints of the Alashiya coast mark the edges of a civilization once vibrant, now almost lost to the tides of time and history. The name Alashiya surfaces sporadically in ancient texts, inscribed on clay tablets and scattered archives from the late Bronze Age. It is a place mentioned in correspondence between kings, a land rich in copper and coveted by empires. Yet the exact location of Alashiya has long puzzled historians, scholars, and explorers. Was it a mighty island, a coastal realm, or a maritime hub connecting east and west? Despite the fragmentary clues left behind, the physical traces of Alashiya remain tantalizingly faint, like footprints slowly eroding beneath the waves. Archaeological surveys along the eastern Mediterranean coastlines, from Cyprus to the Levant, have uncovered fragments that might belong to this enigmatic civilization. Pottery shards with distinctive motifs, remnants of fortifications washed by the sea, and mysterious harbor structures hinting at extensive maritime trade. Yet, none of these finds have definitively pinned down Alashiya's true extent or influence. The coastline itself seems to have shifted over thousands of years, eroded by rising seas, reshaped by earthquakes, erasing evidence that once might have painted a clearer picture. Inscriptions from neighboring powers, such as the Egyptians and the Hittites, reveal glimpses of Alashiya's political and economic significance. These records speak of copper shipments that fueled Bronze Age economies and diplomatic letters negotiating alliances and conflicts. But behind these dry official accounts lies a culture whose daily life, beliefs, and internal dynamics remain largely obscured. How did the people of Alashiya live? What rituals marked their days and nights? What stories did their ancestors tell beneath starlit skies? Such questions stir the imagination, but the archaeological silence is profound. Without a clear city center or monumental architecture, Alashiya's presence is more a whisper than a shout. Some scholars propose that Alashiya was not a singular political entity, but rather a federation of coastal settlements, linked by shared language and trade. Others suggest it was primarily a maritime power, its identity bound to the sea, its people skilled sailors navigating the Mediterranean's complexities long before the rise of the classical world. Adding to the mystery are reports of submerged ruins off certain parts of the coast, structures that some divers and marine archaeologists believe could be remnants of ports or cities swallowed by the shifting coastline and rising waters. Could ancient Alashiya have been lost beneath the waves? If so, what stories and artifacts lie waiting in underwater silence? Speculative theories often circle around the concept of Alashiya as a lost Atlantis of the eastern Mediterranean, a hub of forgotten knowledge and advanced seafaring prowess. While these ideas ignite excitement, they remain unproven, yet they underscore the allure that Alashiya holds, a civilization caught between fact and legend. Technological advances like underwater sonar mapping and sediment analysis have opened new windows into this mystery. By piecing together geological changes alongside human activity, researchers hope to reconstruct the vanished landscapes where Alashiya thrived. Each new discovery reshapes understanding but also deepens the enigma. Local folklore along the coastal communities echoes faint memories of ancient peoples and sunken cities, tales told in hushed tones about the sea's hidden secrets and the ghosts of vanished shores. These narratives, blending history and myth, keep the spirit of Alashiya alive, even as concrete evidence remains scarce. As the tides continue their endless rhythm, washing over shores that have borne witness to millennia of human endeavor, the vanished footprints of the Alashiya coast invite us to listen closely, to read between the lines of history and legend, to imagine a world lost beneath waves and time. What truths still linger, waiting patiently beneath the surface? The search continues, as endless and deep as the sea itself. Beneath the scorching sun and endless dunes of the vast Arabian desert lies one of the most enigmatic and least understood landscapes on Earth, the Empty Quarter, or Rub al-Khali. Spanning nearly 650,000 square kilometers, it is the largest continuous sand desert in the world, a shifting sea of sand that hides secrets as ancient as the Earth itself. Yet, amidst this formidable wilderness, faint traces of what are known as the Jinn roads emerge, linear stone formations and pathways stretching silently across the sands, invoking questions as old as the desert winds. The Jinn roads, also called ghost roads by locals, are straight, low walls or alignments of stones, sometimes extending for tens of kilometers across the barren terrain. Their construction is simple but deliberate, rows of stones placed with an uncanny precision, aligned along cardinal directions or notable geographical features. To the casual observer, they seem almost impossible to explain. No obvious start or end points, no clear indication of their function or purpose. Some run through open plains, others snake through sand dunes, occasionally intersecting or diverging, creating a cryptic network that has puzzled explorers and scholars alike. Scholars first recorded these mysterious stone alignments centuries ago, but scientific investigation remains limited, constrained by the remoteness and inhospitable nature of the Empty Quarter. Yet satellite imagery and aerial surveys have revealed the extent of these stone formations to be far greater than once imagined. Are they ancient roads or caravan trails, relics of trade routes lost to time? Or are they something more symbolic? Territorial markers, spiritual pathways, or astronomical guides? Historically, the Empty Quarter has been sparsely inhabited, home to nomadic Bedouin tribes whose oral traditions speak of Jinn, supernatural beings that dwell unseen, capable of traversing the desert unseen by human eyes. It is from these ancient beliefs that the term Jinn roads derives, casting the stone pathways in an aura of otherworldly mystery. Are these roads merely the product of human endeavor, or do they connect to a deeper, perhaps spiritual, realm? Theories abound. Some archaeologists suggest these stone lines served practical purposes, guiding travelers across the disorienting and ever-changing dunes, acting as primitive navigational aids or markers of water sources. Others posit that they might have delineated territorial boundaries between tribes or clans, long before the establishment of modern borders in the Arabian Peninsula. Intriguingly, some stone alignments align with solstitial or equinox points, hinting at a possible cosmological or ritual significance. Yet, the true origins and uses of the Jinn roads remain elusive. Carbon dating of organic materials found near some sites suggests they could be thousands of years old, predating the rise of major civilizations in the region. But without written records or inscriptions, interpretation relies heavily on speculation and analogy. How did ancient peoples, with limited tools and resources, manage to construct such extensive networks? What motivated them to mark the desert so meticulously? Beyond the archaeological and anthropological considerations, the Jinn roads have inspired modern explorers and mystics alike. Tales of strange phenomena along these pathways, sudden temperature drops, unexplained lights, and an eerie stillness contribute to the desert's enigmatic reputation. Could these experiences be psychological, born from isolation and the harsh environment? Or do they hint at an uncharted dimension of reality woven into the fabric of this ancient landscape? Recent technological advancements are beginning to shed light on the mystery. High-resolution satellite imagery combined with ground-penetrating radar allows researchers to map and analyze the roads without disturbing the fragile environment. Preliminary findings reveal that some stone alignments extend beneath shifting sands, suggesting an even larger and more complex network hidden just out of sight. Could the desert be concealing a forgotten civilization's footprint? or an ancient system of communication lost beneath the sands? Local knowledge remains invaluable. Bedouin guides recount stories passed down through generations, describing the desert not just as a harsh wilderness, but as a living entity, a place where the past and present merge, where the unseen Jinn guard ancient secrets. These oral histories, while difficult to verify, provide cultural context that enriches scientific inquiry, reminding us that mystery often lives at the intersection of fact and folklore. As we contemplate the Jinn roads of the empty quarter, the desert's vast silence seems to deepen. These stone lines stretch endlessly, unyielding to time's erosion, their purpose veiled in shadow. They invite us to slow down, to observe and wonder, to acknowledge how much remains unknown in a world thought so thoroughly explored. What truths might still be buried beneath the shifting dunes? What ancient knowledge or forgotten rituals do these paths encode? The desert keeps its secrets close, offering only fragments to those who dare to seek. So we continue our journey, guided by the faintest traces in the sand, moving quietly along these mysterious roads, drawn ever deeper into the heart of the empty quarter's ancient enigma. Beneath the veils of time and legend lies a kingdom shrouded in the amber glow of twilight. Urartu, a land spoken of in the oldest surviving Sumerian texts. Urartu exists on the threshold between myth and history, a realm that tantalizes scholars and dreamers alike. It is a place both distant and elusive, said to be rich with gold, lapis lazuli, and sacred stones, a cultural beacon rivaling the great city-states of Sumer, yet its exact location has never been found. The name Urartu appears in clay tablets from the 3rd millennium BCE, depicting a kingdom embroiled in delicate diplomacy, artistic exchange, and mysterious rivalry with the city of Uruk. But beyond these inscriptions, the silhouette of Urartu fades into obscurity, leaving behind questions that echo through millennia. Was Urartu a real kingdom, or a symbolic construct woven into Sumerian myth? Could it have been a distant trading partner, a rival power, or something altogether different? Perhaps a lost civilization that vanished without a trace. Descriptions portray Urartu as a place of great wealth and craftsmanship. Its artisans are said to have fashioned exquisite works in gold and precious stones, their skills admired and envied by their neighbors. Some scholars suggest that Urartu's reputation for artistry may indicate a sophisticated society with deep cultural and spiritual traditions. But if so, why has so little archaeological evidence surfaced to confirm its existence? The location of Urartu is itself a mystery layered in speculation. Various theories place it somewhere in the Iranian plateau, the Zagros Mountains, or even the remote highlands of Central Asia. Each proposed site invites tantalizing clues: ancient settlements, artifacts bearing stylistic similarities, or geographical features that resonate with descriptions in the texts. Yet no definitive proof has emerged. This silence in the archaeological record fuels both frustration and fascination. Could the Twilight Kingdom be a symbol of an idealized past, a cultural memory transformed into myth? Or might it be that Urartu once flourished but was lost to natural disaster, war, or gradual absorption into other growing empires? The absence of concrete evidence leaves the story open-ended, inviting us to ponder the fragility of civilizations and the vagaries of historical memory. The intrigue deepens when we consider the role Urartu plays in Sumerian literature. The ancient epic of Enmerkar and the Lord of Urartu, for instance, reads like a tale of diplomacy, rivalry, and the quest for supremacy, a narrative rich with allegory and political undertones. Within this tale, Urartu is not merely a distant land. It is a character embodying both the allure of the unknown and the complexities of intercity relations in a formative era. Some researchers argue that the epic's poetic nature masks kernels of historical truth. Could Arata's mention reflect a genuine geopolitical landscape preserved in mythic form? Others suggest it serves as a cultural metaphor, illustrating themes of power, trade, and the transmission of knowledge. How much of the tale is fact, and how much is fiction designed to bolster the prestige of Uruk? Beyond textual evidence, intriguing parallels emerge when comparing Arata's descriptions to known archaeological sites. Certain highland settlements exhibit architectural features and craft traditions reminiscent of those attributed to Arata. Could these be remnants of the Twilight Kingdom's cultural footprint, or simply coincidental similarities? The question lingers, prompting further investigation. Speculative theories sometimes extend even further. Some propose that Arata may have been part of a network of early civilizations that engaged in wide-ranging exchanges of goods and ideas long before recorded history. Could it have been a center of esoteric knowledge, a guardian of sacred traditions now lost? If so, what secrets might lie buried beneath the soil, waiting to illuminate forgotten chapters of human civilization? Yet caution tempers speculation. The allure of uncovering a lost kingdom can sometimes lead to projecting hopes onto scant evidence. The true nature of Arata remains elusive, demanding that we balance curiosity with critical inquiry. As we reflect on Arata, we confront the enduring mystery of how human societies remember and forget their pasts. What stories survive and which dissolve into the twilight of time? Could Arata's shadows still stretch beneath layers of earth, waiting for patient explorers to reveal their secrets? In contemplating the Twilight Kingdom, we are reminded that history is not merely a record of what was, but a mosaic of stories and silences, of presence and absence. Arata stands at this intersection, a whisper of grandeur, a question mark on the map of antiquity, inviting us to listen closely and imagine deeply. What truths lie hidden in the twilight? What might Arata tell us about the origins of civilization, the nature of memory, and the mysteries that endure beyond the reach of time? As our journey continues, the Twilight Kingdom remains a beacon of intrigue, a place where history and legend entwine, and the quest for understanding beckons us ever onward. Beneath the fertile plains and winding rivers of the ancient Danube basin lies a mystery as silent as the earth itself, a network of unmarked graves, resting places of a priestly class whose names and deeds have been all but erased by time. These are the lost Danubian priests, enigmatic figures who once held spiritual sway over a civilization that flourished but now remains largely veiled in obscurity. Archaeological excavations across this vast region have revealed burial sites that defy easy explanation. Unlike the carefully marked tombs and richly adorned sepulchres common to many ancient cultures, these graves are stark and anonymous, simple pits, often lacking the grave goods or inscriptions that would illuminate their occupants' identities. Their presence challenges our understanding of status and remembrance in prehistoric Europe. Who were these priests, and why did they receive such unceremonious burials, seemingly stripped of the honor usually accorded to spiritual leaders? The Danube Basin was a cradle for some of Europe's earliest agrarian communities, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the river and the cycles of nature. Among them, religious specialists played a critical role, guiding rituals, interpreting omens, and mediating between the seen world and the unseen. Yet the physical legacy of these figures remains elusive. The unmarked graves raise profound questions. Were these priests deliberately anonymized after death? Did their roles carry a secretive or perhaps even feared aspect within society? Or might their modest burials reflect a cultural belief system that eschewed monumental commemoration? Excavations have uncovered subtle clues. In some burial clusters, the positioning of bodies suggests ritual significance, aligned with celestial events or sacred geography, hinting at spiritual practices deeply embedded in their worldview. Associated artifacts, though sparse, occasionally include items such as carved bone amulets, polished stones, or traces of incense, suggesting a connection to ritual purity or protection. Yet, these are fragments of a story we struggle to piece together fully. The absence of written records compounds the mystery. The Danubian cultures predate widespread literacy in Europe, leaving us reliant on material remains and oral traditions, now lost. This silence invites speculation. Could the priests have been custodians of esoteric knowledge, their teachings passed down in secret and intentionally veiled from outsiders? Might their unmarked graves be a physical manifestation of this secrecy, a means to protect sacred knowledge from profanation? Some researchers explore parallels with other ancient societies where religious elites sometimes faced posthumous erasure, perhaps as a form of ritual cleansing or as punishment for transgressions against social or cosmic order. Could a similar dynamic have unfolded here? Were the lost Danubian priests involved in conflicts, political or spiritual, that led to deliberate efforts to obscure their memory? Alternatively, is it possible that their spiritual authority was so profound and intertwined with nature's cycles that traditional concepts of burial and memorial did not apply? The landscape itself adds another layer to the enigma. The Danube Valley's dense forests, wetlands, and rolling hills have preserved much yet concealed more. Seasonal floods and shifting river courses have erased or buried countless sites, making archaeological detection a challenge. Even the graves we have found represent only a fraction of what once existed. What secrets remain hidden beneath layers of sediment and forest floor, waiting for patient hands and new technologies to reveal them? Scientific advances offer tantalizing possibilities. Techniques such as ground-penetrating radar, isotope analysis, and ancient DNA extraction are beginning to shed light on who these individuals were, their diets, health, origins, and familial ties. Early findings suggest a complex society with mobility and exchange networks spanning vast distances. Could the lost priests have been travelers, messengers of distant beliefs, or bearers of syncretic traditions blending multiple influences? Yet, as data accumulates, more questions arise. The contrast between the priests' evident spiritual importance and the simplicity of their burials remains puzzling. If they were key figures in their communities, why was their physical legacy so modest? Does this speak to a worldview where the spirit transcended the body, making earthly tombs insignificant? Or does it hint at social upheaval, where memories were intentionally suppressed or forgotten? Folklore and myth from the broader region occasionally whisper echoes of these lost figures, stories of shadowy guides, mysterious ritual figures, and invisible guardians of sacred knowledge. While such tales cannot substitute for evidence, they enrich the tapestry of mystery and invite us to consider how memory and meaning evolve over time. The unmarked graves of the lost Danubian priests stand as silent witnesses to a civilization's spiritual heartbeat, a whisper beneath the soil that beckons us to listen more closely. They remind us that history is not only what is recorded in stone or script, but also what lingers in absence and silence. As we probe deeper into these ancient tombs, we are confronted with the limits of knowledge and the allure of the unknown. What truths might still lie beneath the Danube's waters and earth, waiting to be discovered? What aspects of human belief and ritual have vanished with the passage of millennia? The story of the lost Danubian priests is far from complete. Their silent graves continue to guard their secrets, urging us to reflect on the mysteries of memory, reverence, and the hidden chapters of our collective past.